following is a live presentation of CBC Sports. Today on Sports Weekend, Canada's most prestigious curling competition from Kitchener, the 57th Brier, as Russ Howard tries for Ontario's second title in 2 weeks. Plus, World Cup skiing from Sunshine, supersetting for giant slalom. Now, here is your host for Sports Weekend, Ted Reynolds.
Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Sports Weekend and the second half of our weekend doubleheader, World Cup skiing and curling. A great day for comebacks yesterday on Sports Weekend in each of the major events that we presented. At the Canadian Men's Curling Championship in Kitchener, Russ Howard's Ontario rink scored a point in the 10th end, and then they stole one in the 11th to defeat BC in the semi-final. So today, Ontario meets Alberta for the Brier crown. In skiing, Peter Mueller and Maria Walliser, facing must-win situations, came through with victories to continue their quest of the World Cup downhill titles. Today, we have giant slalom from Sunshine. Sue Prestige and Diane Lahody tell us more.
Welcome to Sunshine Village, the site of today's Husky World Giant Slalom. Yesterday, Laurie Graham of Inglewood, Ontario, effectively eliminated herself in the race for the downhill title by falling in the upper part of the course. Fortunately, she was not injured. But Diane Lahody, there were some bright spots for the Canadians.
There certainly were. Karen Percy came third, her best result of the season, and in fact, her best result of her whole career here at home in Banff. And it's great to see that. And of course, Lisa Savage-Arvey with her 4th place, and Karen Stemmel coming through with a 14th.
And we'll be back, and we'll be looking forward to an exciting race here at Sunshine. Right now, let's go back to Ted Reynolds at Sports Weekend Control in Toronto.
Okay, Sue, and we'll see you two ladies following the Brier from Kitchener. And naturally, we'll keep you up to date this afternoon on the slate of National Hockey League games. Washington, after the big win last night, trying to move into first place in their division as they play the Islanders once again. Calgary at Detroit. And the California game later on will have the Edmonton Oilers visiting the Los Angeles Kings. Like the National Hockey League, the Brier, the top curling event in Canada, has a long and very distinguished past. They know all about that in Manitoba. That province has won an amazing 22 titles in 57 years. The game has really changed a great deal over the years. Better ice, better equipment, some people say better conditioned athletes. But the Brier tradition is strong, and it's always meant curling excellence.
Inception in 1927, when Murray McNeil of Nova Scotia was the first to inscribe his name on the Brier tankard, the Canadian Men's Curling Championship has produced some memorable moments. Gordon Hudson of Manitoba became the first 2-time winner, putting together back-to-back wins in 1928 and 29. Cliff Manahan gave Alberta its first double winner, capturing the Brier in 1933 and again 4 years later. In the early years, the Brier was dominated by Manitoba, with Jimmy Welsh emerging as another double winner. And Ken Watson became the first 3-time champion, claiming the title in 1936, 42, and 49, a feat that was equaled by Matt Baldwin of Alberta in 54, 57, and 58. And then the Richardson foursome from Regina took over. The family quartet dominated the sport in the late 50s and early 60s, winning their first title in 1959, their second the following year, a 3rd championship here in Kitchener in 1962, and a record-setting 4th title in Brandon in 1963. Then another Alberta rink, skipped by Ron Northcott, became the power of Canadian curling, winning 3 championships in 1966, 68, and 69. In 1970 in Winnipeg, before a hometown crowd, Don Duguid won the first of 2 consecutive titles, plus 2 world championships, before retiring to provide his expertise and knowledge of the game to CBC television viewers from coast to coast. In 1978, Ed Lukowich of Alberta was Canadian champion. He was back 5 years later in Sudbury, facing Ed Werenik of Ontario in one of the great displays of Brier shot making.
It's on its way. Front end, jump on it right away. They're really working it. That rock is starting to cut. Is he going to get a piece of it? He's got a good hunk of it. And I think it's all over.
Lukowich and Werenik went at it again the following year in the Brier semi-final in Victoria. Once again, however, the result was the same, with the Ontario champion winning. But then he lost in the final to Manitoba's Mike Riley. Last year, Lukowich was beaten for the Alberta title by Pat Ryan, who subsequently lost the Canadian crown in one of the dramatic moments in curling history.
Final rock of the 10th end. Hackner must kill both Alberta stones and save the shooter. Oh, he's well out there. Now it's starting to curl. Is he going to hit it? He's going to get a piece of it. He may have it. Oh, it's the piece of it. Can you believe that?
A second Canadian crown for Al Hackner of Thunder Bay. And this year in Kitchener, Lukowich is back again trying to win his second Canadian championship. And CBC Sports brings you live coverage of the 1986 Labatt Brier from the Memorial Auditorium in Kitchener. Ontario champion Russ Howard of Penetang will go against Ed Lukowich of the Calgary Winter Club. Hi everyone, I'm Don Whitman along with Don Duguid. Can we expect some drama this afternoon?
Well, I really think you can. You know, yesterday on the telecast, Lukowich said he'd like to play Howard because he plays his type of game. I'm looking for a lot of rocks, a lot of exciting shots, and a real good game, Don. I think this could be one of our best games ever.
Let's go back 24 hours to a very exciting semifinal here in the Kitchener Auditorium. Two fine rinks, Barry McPhee and his foursome from the Kamloops Country Club going against Ontario champion Russ Howard. It was a nip-and-tuck affair, and going to the 10th end, British Columbia led by a score of 5-4 and had 4 stones in the rings as Russ Howard, under pressure, threw the final stone of the 10th end. He had to draw down to the edge of the 4-foot to force overtime, and he did just that. On the extra end, with his final stone, Howard put the shot rock at the top of the 4-foot. McPhee opted to go with an in-turn draw, trying to get a piece of that 4-foot circle. He was just a touch heavy, and the rock slid to the back of the 8-foot, and by a mere inch or so, gave Ontario a semifinal win and a berth in this afternoon's final. And for Howard, it was quite an afternoon.
That was quite a game with BC. We got down that 3 points, or the 2 points. They had a 3 in the second end, and it looked like we were going to have to play 25 ends before they hit a center guard dead on. And finally, they did it in the 11th end, and Tim managed to bury one perfectly, and we got away with it. But I don't know. That was a real tight game. But you never know. Eddie's got such a great team. They can curl equally as well as BC did. So I think we're in for a real good game.
I think that the first game we had with Russ Howard, we joked around a little bit out there and had a lot of fun, and I'm pretty sure it'll be the same today, although, underneath the teams will be, very intense.
Will the adrenaline be flowing?
Well, I think it already is. I think both teams at the banquet last night were already showing signs there of, getting mentally ready and, getting prepared for a day. And I could see the intensity on my team already last night. They were already getting ready.
We'll return with first-hand action of this 1986 Canadian Championship right after this.
Parkinson's disease can make an adult more helpless than a child. It hits 1 in every 200 Canadians over the age of 40. If you think it could be you or someone in your family, contact the Parkinson Foundation for help.
Having a tough time deciding on a four-wheeler? The YFM 225 from Yamaha makes it easy. It's easy to buy because it costs up to $1,000 less than other makes. It's easy to ride and easy on gas because it's up to 100 pounds lighter. And it's easy to put to work because it's got a smaller turning radius and 10 speeds of Yamaha 4-stroke power plus reverse. The YFM 225.
Available at Dubois Marine in Selkirk and hot and cold sales in the Pas.
Live CBC Sports Weekend brings you the 1986 Labatt Brier final, and Alberta has won the toss. That means Ontario will deliver the first stone from the hand of Kent Carstairs. The 38-year-old Ontario lead is being asked to play an out turn, trying to throw at that center guard.
And ice running very fast, Don. I would think it would be about 24 seconds, same as yesterday. And Carstairs picked up his weight right away, top of the forefoot. That's good weight judgment in the very first end. And, you know, I'm looking for maybe a cat and mouse game, first couple hands, played wide open, and then I think the doors will open and they'll start going around corner guards and freezing.
Well, during round robin play, Alberta won by a score of 7-5. 29-year-old Brent Syme, who was with Ed Lukowich in two previous Briers, 1983 in Victoria, or Sudbury, 1984 in Victoria.
I think experience may be a key factor in this game. Lukowich has been here 4 times, Howard twice. Howard didn't get as far down the road in his last Brier appearance compared to Lukowich. He's been in the semifinals, the finals, and he's won it once. So that, you know, that means a lot. If you've been here 2 or 3 times, you're a little more prepared for the pressure situations that come up. But let me tell you, Howard played an exceptional game yesterday. He was down, he fought back, he never panicked, showed a lot of patience, made a good shot in the 10th end just to tie it, drawing to the forefoot against 4 stones, and then making that good come around draw with the out turn to really win the game. And it was just his patience and his good shot making that pulled him through.
Carstairs attempting to remove that Alberta stone that is sitting in the rings. He's got a nose hit. Ontario lies 1. During round robin play, Alberta defeated Ontario by a score of 7-5. Just to refresh your memory, the 2 rinks had identical records of 9-2. However, Alberta finished atop the standings and was awarded the bye into the final on the basis of that round robin triumph over Ontario. Ontario finished in 2nd place, defeating McPhee of British Columbia in yesterday's semifinal. McPhee had tied with Myers of Saskatchewan for 3rd place with records of 7-4, and they were involved in a tiebreaker on Friday night with McPhee winning.
That's right. And you had to feel a bit sorry for McPhee yesterday, Don. He played an exceptional game, made some great shots, and you know, I think going to the in turn with his very last rock in the extra end, he might have been a little bit fooled. There hadn't been any rocks played down there. He thought maybe he'd just put a little bit more weight on to make sure it made the forefoot, and unfortunately it was as keen on that side as it was on the other side, and he slipped to the back of the 8-foot.
And if you were with us yesterday, you may recall when Ed Lukowich joined our telecast for the final 2 ends, he made the comment that he would prefer to play Russ Howard in the final because he felt it might be a more exciting game. There would be more rocks in play against McPhee of British Columbia. Lukowich reasoned that if McPhee ever got up, it would be a straight knockout game.
Well, there's no question these 2 skips like to gamble when they have last rock. And even, you know, Eddie Lukowich likes to gamble when he doesn't have last rock. He puts a lot of rocks in play because I think he feels he can make the very key shots, and that's very important. If you have a lot of confidence in your ability to make the tough shots, whether you have last rock or not, it's very important.
Whoa.
And you can see how straight the ice is staying. You know, the pebble hasn't worn off yet. It always runs straighter the first couple 3 ends until the pebble wears down. Then it'll start curling a lot more.
Hooray! Hooray!
Ontario second Tim Belcourt attempting to remove that Alberta stone. And he pushes it through, the shooter staying just outside the rings.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what Lukowich does here because he likes to gamble. He may go around that corner guard right away. There you see the rock on the right-hand side. That's exactly what he's doing. He has last rock, and you know the people are applauding now. So he's going right after him, the very first end.
And that's a good place to gamble. When you have last rock, play off to the corner of the sheet. Because if it doesn't work out for you, you got the whole forefoot to draw to. This is a big test here for Houston. You know, drawing the first stand, especially over to the corner of the sheet.
Yeah. Oh, you see? Come on, hurry! Hurry! You see? Whoa, whoa, lot of room. Lot of room. Lot of weight.
He looks a little bit strong. Nicely by the guard, but unfortunately a little bit heavy and goes to the back of the house.
Now will Howard try and do the same thing?
Well, you know, he doesn't have last rock. I'd be.
Right.
He's going gambling right away.
Yeah.
What a performance this man, Ontario third Glenn Howard, put on. You may recall, if you were with us when we talked with Skip Russ Howard, the older brother, after the game, he said, I couldn't believe it. My brother made about 15 freezes during the game, and we were still life and death going to the extra end.
Well, let me tell you, if he doesn't make any one or two of those freezes, they're in a lot of trouble, but he just played an exceptional game. A free shot is a very difficult shot.
Free! Hurry! Hard! Free! Hard!
He's going to chip the one, but he may roll his shooter on. Not a bad shot. You know, they discussed that before he threw that rock. Glenn Howard said, if I rub the front one and roll in, that's all right, too.
Well, we'd even taken an angle roll for a corner freeze there, you know. Wouldn't be a bad shot. Let's just throw a nice, just throw a nice bump. Make sure a bump.
You heard that little remark by Lukowich. He says, well, even if you hit and roll, give you a corner freeze, he's really planning. If he hits and rolls over there in the corner freeze, he's going to use that maybe to chip and roll it in last time, then, you know, as the end progresses. So, you know, he's always thinking a couple of rocks ahead.
And he always has that piece of straw from his broom in the corner of his mouth. He and Ed Werenick, two of the great straw chewers in Canadian curling.
Toothpick for Eddie Werenick and straws.
No, off. Clean. Off, right off. Right off. No.
Just outside the rings, and now will Russ Howard again try and go in behind?
No, I don't think he will. I think he has to hit that one that. You heard him say it has to go because it's too close to the rings. Lukowich could roll that one on and a shooter.
You want to do that.
If that rock was maybe another foot closer to the hog line, they might draw around, but that's too close to him because Lukowich could roll that.
You don't want to go here.
Yeah, right.
How's that?
Good.
Amiable team, how's that? Russ yells down to Glenn. Glenn says good.
Free. Hard. Free. Hard.
Good brushing by the front end of Carstairs and Belcourt.
Hurry. Roll it, Tim. Roll it.
Nice shot.
They get the roll, July 1.
Bumper.
Lukowich just said to John Ferguson, bumper. Now he's going to try to hit that one and roll in behind that corner guard. He may even just touch it as he's rolling over there and go in behind it. Look at, he's looking at all angles. Look at him, he's way over in the corner of the sheet looking where he has to roll to.
This is the opening end of the 1986 Labatt Brier final. Lukowich has carved quite a career in Canadian curling. In 1961 and 62, with his brother Mike skipping the rink. He was in the Canadian Schoolboy Championships, a runner-up in 61, a champion in 62. There's the corner freeze that he was talking about earlier.
Exactly. And I don't think Howard can afford to leave that there.
So easy to chip on, eh?
We could run it.
Yeah. May be able to get enough of this one that this might go in.
It might go, that might come back.
If I could hit it right there, I'll be all right. Better go this way. Dead on's not bad.
Heard Russ Howard say dead on is not bad, Don, but what he's trying to do is hit that rock on the inside, and he may roll over and push his red one into the rings. Because I think if he hits and stays right there, Lukowich will go around it.
And remember, Lukowich has last stone on this opening end.
Hi. Hi.
They jumped on it right away. Now it's starting to stay fairly straight for him. He's trying to get it on the inside. He's very close. Oh, he just touched it, but not quite enough. Had to hit a little bit there, and he would have pushed that red one into the rings.
Well, he didn't. He threw it, you know. Well, he threw it pretty good. Yeah. Just a hair less.
Lukowich would like to place this first stone over there on the edge of the 12-foot, in behind that other red rock sitting just outside the rings.
Well, you know, for a skip, you always like to play a draw the first end. That gives you the feel of the ice. And, you know, from there, it really carries on through the game. So a draw shot with your very first rock is very important.
Nice weight.
You hear Eddie yelling, nice weight.
Lots of room. Let her move. Let her move. On its own.
What do you look at it?
On its own.
Lots of room.
Come on, hurry. All the way back.
Lots of room.
Right up. Come on, hurry.
Oh, he's got a good looking shot.
Right back. All the way. Come on, hurry.
If they take it deeper.
All right, let's go. Right back. Right back. Stay on it. Right back. Right back. Right back.
Oh, pretty nice touch opening rock. Look at that. He's in the open, but beautiful weight. There you see it's not quite buried. It's fairly well open, but a dangerous part of the ice for Russ Howard. Any kind of weight, you know, they've thrown a lot of rocks over there, Don, and any kind of weight, it may hang a little straight for him.
I can't bury it. No buried.
There you see he's got about a foot of ice. Trying to pick that rock out of there.
Ball. Free. All right. Whoa. Whoa. Whoa, right off. Right off. Right off. Whoa.
Oh, that rock is a long way out. Now it's starting to come over. He's got a good looking shot.
Ontario lies one.
Now for Lukowich, he's got exactly the same shot, only he'd like to hit it a little bit thinner and roll his shooter out to blank the end.
Lukowich attempting to retain control of last rock into end number 2. He, with last rock advantage, would certainly like to score more than one, but that opportunity does not present itself here on the first end, so he'll go hunting for that 2 or more on end number 2, if possible.
Now he's roughly taking about the same weight that Russ Howard took to hit that rock on the nose, so I think Ed Lukowich will be throwing a little bit more weight. Got a good sound delivery. Nice and square, gets right in behind the wall, and a good release.
Whoa! Whoa! Right off. Clean. Clean. Come on.
Just clean.
Guys.
And he gets the hit and roll. And Lukowich is successful in blanking the first end of this 1986 Canadian Championship, retaining last rock advantage into end number 2. So it's still scoreless here at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium.
Morning.
How was your flight?
Good. How'd you make out?
We've looked at 5 investment firms, and we think these people have what we need.
I see.
What I mean is they have some interesting ideas. I'd say a very creative approach. And as you can see, this proposal meets our immediate needs and our long-term strategy.
You like the creative approach?
Yes, I do.
So do I.
Richardson Greenshields, investment advisors to Canadian enterprise and enterprising Canadians.
Bring Brian Adams home. And Neil Young, Anne Murray, Gordon Lightfoot. Bring home Tears Are Not Enough, the CBC movie. Tears Are Not Enough, exclusively on CBC Enterprises Home Video. Special price $29.95 from selected video dealers across the country. Or use your credit card to order by phone. Call toll-free 1-800-268-1121. Net proceeds donated to the Northern Lights for Africa Society. CBC Enterprises, Canada's home movies.
The All-Star team is selected this week, and naturally, Ed Lukowich is the All-Star skip. Glenn Howard, 23 years of age, the third man for this Ontario squad, the All-Star third. And the All-Star second and lead, a brother-act, Craig Myers, 22 years old from Saskatchewan, and the youngest member of that family rink, representing the Wheat Province, 20-year-old Garth Myers as the All-Star lead. So Ed Lukowich, the old man of this group, curling definitely becoming at the competitive level a young man's game. The second All-Star team consisted of Russ Howard of Ontario as the skip. John Ferguson of Alberta was the third. The second, Neil Houston of Alberta. And the lead was Kent Carstairs of Ontario. So 6 of the 8 All-Stars in the first and second team are in action in this championship battle. Alberta facing Ontario. Another award handed out yesterday, the Ross Hearthstone Award, voted by the players to the player who best exhibits the ideals of sportsmanship and ability, and that award went to Bill Campbell Jr., the skip of the Nova Scotia rink.
Break. Hard. Hurry! Hard. Hard, guys. Free. Free. Hurry. Hurry. Hard. Free. Hard. Come on.
Great shot.
Ken Carstairs picked that one out clean. He has to hit the rock absolutely perfect, and he does. And you'll see he hits it on the outside, and he drives it by, but he actually touches the other rock and just moves it over a fraction. That's excellent curling.
The way Russ Howard yells at that front end when they're sweeping, I'm surprised that his voice is held out throughout the week.
Boy, he sure let you know where the rock is going, I'll tell you that. And right from the opening rock, Kent Carstairs put it in the back of the 8-foot, and Lukowich started to freeze to it right away.
Come on. Come on.
He nudges that shot stone back beside the other Ontario stone. Alberta now lies 1. This could be a very interesting end, the way it has started, however.
Well, Lukowich is taking the attack that he's going to freeze to the rocks behind the tee line. That's how he's going to try and score 2 points. He'll mix it up. He'll either freeze to them behind the tee line or throw up the corner guard to try and get his 2 points. This is as good a way as a corner guard, especially when those rocks are well behind the tee line. And even if Belcourt picks this one out, Don, and he's going to roll a shootout, those two are together at the back of the ring, so leaves a pocket for Lukowich to freeze to.
Hard. Hard. Free. Hard.
They're moving him around, aren't they? First one side, then the other. Let me tell you, that's a good shot by Belcourt. Do you know how exacting you have to be to do that? First time they threw the in turn, now they're throwing the out turn. Belcourt hits about 3/4 of rock, drives it through, just touches the other 2 rocks to the back. Now Ontario's lying 3.
Lukowich is pretty relaxed out there. He's humming between shots. Wonder if he knows Melancholy Baby.
Clean.
He was also over at the water cooler. Very second end.
All hard. Right. Roll her a little. Good shot.
Alberta at the top of the 4-foot with that shot by second Neil Houston. Now lies 1.
And for Belcourt, he threw the out turn the first time. Now he's faced with the in turn. I would think he's going to throw the same weight. Try to hit it a little bit on the high side, the left-hand side of the rock. They're starting to work on it.
Danger here is they might drive it back into the 2 red stones at the back. No, they nip it by.
You see the way they're moving those rocks around from one side of the sheet to the other. Now that is great curling. Precision shooting. See, once again, picks it out cleanly, drives it by the other 2 at the back, and rolls over to the right-hand side. Good shot.
Just bump.
You heard Lukowich say just bump and then hold his hand at his waist. Now that means just in between weight, which is bumper weight for him. He touched his shoulder, he probably means big weight.
Hurry. Hurry. All hard. Right up hard. All in. Whoa. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Whoa, whoa. Good shot.
And the rock moves over again to this side. Lukowich is trying to force Ontario to drive it back into those two at the back, and of course Ontario's picking it out and rolling it over to the other side all the time.
A game of cat and mouse, similar to what we saw yesterday, where this man, Russ Howard, tried absolutely everything during that game.
Better if you could go that way.
Moving it around, throwing up short guards, as he said, long guards, trying to freeze. And each time McPhee was able to counter with something, but it went to an extra end, and Howard emerged with a 6-5 win.
You heard Russ Howard saying to Glenn, it'd be better to roll this way, meaning he wants to roll away from the pack, get over the open side.
Free. Free. Well.
Key for Ontario, they have to save their shooter. Now, Don, the plan changes a bit now. You see where that rock is, away over on the right-hand side. Lukowich will freeze to those at the back.
Move it 3 or 4 inches, right? What we want.
See, they made so many takeouts that rock is now over on the edge of the 12-foot. Now it allows Lukowich the opportunity to freeze to those two at the back of the 8-foot. See him right there.
Well, Ontario lies 3 on this second end, but Russ Howard does not have the advantage of last rock.
And the one corn broom in existence on this sheet, belonging to Ed Lukowich. And there you see it. John Ferguson.
Easy. Lot of room. No. No. Good line now.
You hear Lukowich yelling, whoa, whoa, and the sweepers keep going. That means that he's maybe a little bit light, but he's got lots of weight. Now they jump on it again. More for line. Look at this shot.
Come on.
Now, is that good judgment by the sweepers? Oh. When Lukowich was yelling, whoa, they were still sweeping it because they knew it needed a little bit to get in the back of the 8-foot. A little bit too much for ice for Lukowich there, though.
Guys are sweeping at the end and just move that corner freeze off.
Because Howard can hit that rock right on the nose and spill it and still save the back one.
This is end number 2 of this Labatt Brier final. Ed Lukowich blanked the first. He has last rock advantage here on the second. Ontario third, Glenn Howard. Attempting to remove that yellow hammer belonging to Alberta.
Hooray!
He's got a good looking shot. He's going to spill it all. Look at that. Good shot. He even saved the back one.
That's why he was the all-star third.
Exactly right.
Okay, play the freeze again. You just threw it.
You'll see here, he can hit this rock right on the nose or a little on the inside and he'll spill it. See, he hits it fairly well on the nose, moves both rocks out, touches the one at the back, moves it back a bit. And for Lukowich, not a good situation, Don, because now there's only 1 rock to freeze to. Before, when Ferguson threw his first rock, there was 2. And now there's just 1, so Lukowich is going to maybe tighten up the ice a bit and get it flush to that one behind the tee line.
How's the weight? I'm good. Whoa! No, 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 no. Lot of weight. Lot of weight. Lot of weight. No, right up. Right up.
And even though Lukowich called the sweepers off, they stayed with the stone right to the final moment.
Well, they have to, but just in case it picks up something. You never pull your brushes away from the rock because you never know when it's going to pick up something or dig in a bit. So you always kind of brush it lightly. And things are not working out for Lukowich on this end.
Yeah, at the end, I think.
Right off. Right off. Whoa. Whoa.
He's got a lot of weight, and they got him right off. Now it's starting to come over.
Russ Howard applied a little body English as that rock was making its way down the ice, and he made contact with the shot stone, saved the shooter, and Ontario lies 4.
Okay. Well, I was thinking we might go around that edge one too, eh? I guess a pretty nice shot in here. Well, let's have a look at it. So you play around that little corner there, right? Play right in that crotch. If we do tick the front one, then we're still in front of all this. Okay? Like that would be the best shot if we welded one right there.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Well, if we do tick the top, we still got a shot, eh?
Well, Lukowich wants to bring this rock around. Like he says, he wants to tuck it in this area here somewhere. You know, and maybe bring it back to that one at the back. Just something like that. The big thing about it is he's got a guard here, but if he corner freezes it, it's just as well freezing to those 2 back ones. It's as good a shot. But it's not a good position when you're freezing to rocks the other team's lying floor, especially in the second end. Although Lukowich in the first end made a good draw with his first rock, so he should know the weight. But once that rock pulls off that center line, Don, you'll notice he's taking ice on the inside of center. It might be a little heavier there.
Nice weight. Nice weight.
Lukowich
Let her
saying
move.
nice weight.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Gotta move. No. No, no, no. No, on its own. Whoa, whoa. Right on. Right on. Whoa, whoa. Whoa.
Wow, right on.
No. Right on. Right on.
Oh, he may go through the hole. He has.
That rock almost seemed to start running straight as it reached the top of the house.
Well, it certainly never curled very much in there. You know, he was a little bit strong, Don, and but that rock stayed very straight. And as you see it come down here, and he's trying to tuck it in around that first rock that you see on the right-hand side and freeze to the one at the back of the 8-foot. But it looks to me like you're right, Don, it did kick back a bit, like it straightened up because he was closer to that guard. So there's a little bit of a run in that ice.
Just as it got into the 8-foot, it just seemed to pick up a bit of a run, and now Lukowich could be in big trouble on this end if Howard can force him to play that cold draw, perhaps to the 4-foot.
Yeah. Well, Howard's going to try to drop this one in the 4-foot, away from that where all the rocks are, and make Lukowich make an open hit to score his 1. You know, if he ever hits half a rock and rolls out, they're going to steal 3 on him. And Howard talking to Belcourt and Ken Carstairs, just establishing in his own mind the draw weight.
Whoa. Whoa. Right off.
And Howard using the body English. Look at the sweepers. They're backed right off him.
Whoa.
They want to stop in the 4-foot. He doesn't want to go behind that T line. Oh, nice way. That's a good shot. I don't know, though, Don. I might have played the in-turn draw over to the other side. Changed the turn or the shot for Ed Lukowich, because Lukowich just threw the out-turn, although it was inside center. There's been a lot of rocks played down in that area, freezing to those ones in the back of the 8-foot earlier on in the end. And now Lukowich knows the ice. But if you pull that over on the right-hand side, it's a little different path for him.
Just back 4-foot.
You hear Lukowich saying just back 4-foot. This is just going to be a little overdraw weight.
Is this the point in the match where the opposition front end stands on the side and tries to put a jinx on the other skip?
Well, you know what you do? You're standing on
the I should say.
Belcourt and Carstairs will stand on the side and watch it go by, and that's when your heart starts beating a bit faster, because either he's a little bit slow or he's a little bit fast.
Easy.
The last rock of the
Whoa,
second end.
easy. Come on, hurry, hurry,
Eddie's
hurry,
been
hurry,
in this
hurry.
situation before, though, lots
Hurry,
of
gotta go
times.
hard. All yeah, guys. Hurry, all yeah, hurry.
They're going to sweep it. They want to make sure they move this rock.
Gotta go hard. All yeah, hurry, 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 hurry.
He said back 4-foot weight. He's very close to it. He's got to push it about 3 feet. He does. Great shot by Lukowich. Beautiful curling shot.
Under pressure. And Lukowich comes through on the second end, looking at a mess of red Ontario stones in the rings to pick up a single point and draw first blood in this 1986 final.
On Hanging In, things get confusing.
Bernie.
And Yogi.
I'm Boo Boo.
Confusing, but amusing. Join the fun. Hanging In, Monday.
Our moms are the best. But to be a great mom, you've got to have great kids. We're great. Kate and Allie. They owe it all to us. Mondays on CBC television. Look again.
You are about to see the heart of a Yamaha outboard. It's a brain, a microcomputer that monitors 8 separate engine functions for peak performance for years to come. And while our V6 Special is the only Yamaha with a brain, the rest of the family is just as smart.
Available at Arberg Sports Products in Arberg and Churchill River Marine in Leaf Rapids.
CBC Sports Weekend. Canada's gonna win the World Junior title.
Canada has won the World Junior Championship.
Oh, she just squeezed by. Great shot.
That's it. Canada will win as Scotland runs out of rocks. He's got a piece of it. He'll get 3.
A beautiful shot by Al Hackner.
An unprecedented sweep. Canada defends its world titles on Sports Weekend.
CBC Sports Weekend.
We'll be returning to the Brier in Kitchener very shortly. First, though, a reminder, coming up this afternoon, World Cup giant slalom from beautiful Sunshine Village in Alberta. Canada has a couple of young women, Karen Percy and Lisa Savage-Arvey, who are skiing very well of late. The National Hockey League's regular season ends 4 weeks from today, so let's bring you up to date. There were 7 games yesterday, including the renewal of the Boston-Montreal rivalry, the Canadians exploding for 5 second-period goals to pull away from Boston. And in Toronto, the Leafs defeated Chicago for the 5th time in 7 tries. Pat Verbeek's hat trick paced New Jersey to a surprise win over Philadelphia. Laurie Boschman scored Winnipeg's game winner, their 2nd under John Ferguson. Washington won its 6th straight, downing the Islanders. Hartford's streak came to an end, a home ice loss to Quebec, while St. Louis closed in on first place in the North by handling Vancouver. There's 1 game underway at the moment, no score, Washington and the Islanders. Curling continues in Kitchener. It's the 3rd end of the Brier final.
Thank you, Ted. And the winner of this, of course, will go on to the World Curling Championship that will take place in Toronto. The Canadian representative for that 1986 World Curling Championship, the first week in April. Doug Maxwell is the Vice President of Operations for the 86 World Curling Championship. And Doug, how many national champions have been decided?
Well, we've got 8 decided already, Don. 3 of those are newcomers to the event. They're graduates from the Uniroyal World Junior Championship. So that should make it rather interesting. Dominic Dupont-Roch will be the skip of the French team. Then we have another junior, Tormod Andreasen. Well, actually, he's the skip of the Norwegian team, but the other 3 members are all ex-juniors, the same ones that lost to John Bass a couple of years ago in the Uniroyal World Junior Championship. And then there's another newcomer to the event, not a junior team, but from Germany, Roland Jentsch from Füssen. So that makes 3 of the teams. Then we have 5 returning teams, and I guess the big name there is probably Stefan Hasselborg, who was the silver medal winner last year in Glasgow when Al Hackner won the gold medal. Then we have David Smith from Scotland. He played 2nd for Mike Hay a couple of years ago, and the interesting thing here is that Mike Hay is now playing 2nd for David Smith. They have Hammy McMillan, last year's junior championship skip in Scotland, playing at 3rd. Other returning teams are Steve Brown, who just won the USA Championship yesterday out in Seattle. He was there in 1982 in Garmisch-Partenkirchen. Tommy Sterne will be there from Denmark. It'll be his 4th time back to the Silver Broom, and I think that's just about the 8, at least if I was counting correctly. Did I miss anybody?
I don't think you missed anybody, Doug, and I'm always amazed at how you remember all those names and all the representatives from the various nations. It should be an exciting week in Toronto. We look forward to seeing you there.
You betcha.
And here at the Labatt Brier in Kitchener, it's 1-0 Alberta leading Ontario in this showdown for the 1986 Canadian Championship. The winner advancing, of course, to that World Curling Championship in Toronto. Ed Lukowich trying to duplicate his performance of 1978. That year, of course, he had Mike Chernoff throwing skipping the rink, and Lukowich threw last rock. And then in his subsequent appearances in 83 and 84, Lukowich not only stood at the tee head, but he also threw the last stone.
Well, you know, that shot by Lukowich, and you heard him just before he went down the ice, he said, just back 4 foot weight. And, you know, that's how exacting these teams curl. He pushed that rock right to the back of the 4 foot, enough for shot rock. And while it looked fairly simple, Don, it's not really that simple when the other team is lying 4 to make a shot like that.
Yeah, it's going to have regular. Roll in with regular.
Lukowich made an interesting comment yesterday. He said he has learned how to have fun at a Brier, and I'm always amazed how an athlete can relax in such pressure.
Well, you know, it's not only the Brier, but you go through your club playdowns, you go through your provincial playdowns, and like it's 1 week of pressure, then another week, and now here they are at the Brier, it's another week of pressure, and whoever wins this game, it's another week to go in the World Championship. You know, you have to learn to relax and have fun. You know, and a lot of these guys, they thrive on the pressure, but they also have fun. You know, they like good curling, they enjoy good curling games.
Well, yeah, hurry. Good.
He gets the hit and roll from his third, John Ferguson. Alberta lies 1.
Russ Howard asking Glenn for the out turn. And he's coming right at you here. And here's the rock. You get a skip's eye view of it coming down. There's the rock. Howard kneeling behind it.
This way. Bump. Yeah, good bump. Yeah, good bump.
And Lukowich talking to Ferguson in his own mind. Ferguson always comes down and establishes what kind of weight Eddie wants for the takeout. And you heard Eddie say good bump means he wants bumper weight on it.
Well, Lukowich is attempting to become only the 9th two-time Brier winner. There have been 3 three-time winners, Ken Watson, Matt Baldwin, and Ron Northcott, and of course the king, Ernie Richardson, with 4 Brier titles and 4 world championships.
My idol.
Clean. Clean. That's good. Just clean.
Without last rock, Lukowich here on this third end, attempting to keep things clean, as you heard him say to John Ferguson.
Well, Howard will try to blank this end unless he gets a miss out of Lukowich. And then he may do the gambling on the fourth end. It looks like a home end could be where all the action is. Just keeping it clean.
Right up, right up.
Lukowich doesn't waste much time in positioning the broom. And you hear him humming as he makes his way down to the other end.
You think he's singing, if I had the hammer?
We're talking to the members of the rink prior to the match this afternoon, and the front end, Neil Houston and Brent Symes, said, you should have those wireless microphones on us. And Lukowich's reply was, yeah, you'd really get some interesting comment. What's that idiot planning now?
Wow. Wow.
And he stepped his weight up a bit here. That's why they're yelling, whoa.
Right up.
Threw a little bit more weight than I think he wanted. Ran very straight with that kind of weight. Now for Howard, he may switch which side this rock goes on. He may force Eddie to play the in-turn on the other side. I think that's exactly what he's doing. Move the rock around a bit. Never give the skip the same shot twice in a row.
We've referred to the fact that Lukowich is in his fourth Brier. This is the second for Russ Howard. He competed in 1980. His rink finished with a 5-6 record in 1980 in Calgary. That was the year that Rick Folk went on to win it for the province of Saskatchewan and a subsequent world championship.
Yep. Come on, hard. Hooray! Come on.
No, he's trying to put it over on the same side, only closer to the board from the edge of the 12-foot. He doesn't want to drop this short.
Come on, right up though. It's gonna dig a bit.
He ain't saying it's going to dig a bit. He's scared. There's not too many rocks. He's afraid out there. There's not too many rocks being played, and they may dig in for it.
Regular. Inch more.
The game is moving along rather quickly.
This end, they've kept it clean. In 1978, when the winner was determined on the basis of round-robin play, Lukowich, out in Vancouver, compiled a record of 9 wins and 2 losses. In 1983, he finished atop the round-robin standings with a 10-1 mark, lost the final to Ed Werenik, and an 84. Finished round-robin play with an 8-3 record, then lost the semifinal to Werenik.
He's throwing a little bit more weight again.
Okay.
He rolls the shooter into the 4-foot. Alberta lies 1.
For Russ Howard, he'll try to hit a half a rock down here and blank this end. And that rock is over a little bit more than the one Eddie Lukowich threw at with his first rock. It'll be interesting to see. That rock is closer to center, whether it'll curl a little bit more.
Hard. Free. Hard.
Hard.
Hooray!
He wants to roll out with this one. That's why they're sweeping it. And he's successful. Good shot by Russ Howard.
So Ontario skip Russ Howard looking for a pair with last rock. Will carry that advantage into end number 4.
Happy birthday, Coronation Street. It's a celebration. Coronation Street, 25 years. Chock full of hundreds of lively photos, month-by-month details, behind-the-scenes action, even a who's who. It's all here in Coronation Street, 25 years. For only $17.95 at good bookstores, or use your credit card to order by phone. Call toll-free 1-800-268-1121 from CBC Enterprises.
Danger strikes when criminals run rampant. People holler for one man, Mr. Canoehead. On 4 on the Floor with the Frantics, Thursday. The Martin Short Comedy Special.
I like the building. My arm, if you will.
With all his weird and wonderful characters.
I am interested in an autograph of Ed Grimley.
It must be magic.
And his friends, Andrea Martin, Dave Thomas, Paul Schaefer, and more.
Oh, sorry.
The Martin Short Comedy Special, Thursday.
CBC Sports Weekend. Next Saturday and Sunday on Sports Weekend, a double blast from Whistler, BC begins with the final Men's World Cup downhill of the season, followed the next day by Men's Super G. Last year at Panorama, Marcus Vossmeyer led the way. Now he'll try Whistler.
CBC Sports Weekend. You can see it right here on CBC Sports. CBC Sports Weekend.
Welcome back to the Memorial Auditorium in Kitchener, with Alberta leading Ontario by a score of 1-0. And with me down at ice level is the Federal Minister of Sport, Otto Jelinek, who has more than just a passing interest in this battle, being a native of Ontario, but also looking ahead to 1988 and the Olympic Games in Calgary.
Well, we're of course delighted to have curling as a demonstration sport in '88, and we're going to try to make them as much of the Olympics as possible, because it would be my view, with the type of curling that we've seen here in Kitchener and what curling's become internationally, to have curling as part of the Olympics as a sport in the future. And that's one of my ambitions, to work with the International Olympic Committee to do just that, because fans can see across Canada how important curling is to so many people and how great a sport it is. It's got to become one of the Olympic sports done.
Well, there is some federal funding going into this as well.
Yes, we're supporting to the greatest extent that we can, but certainly we appreciate the private sector involvement, in this case Labatt's being involved very much with curling, and that's the type of partnership that I've been working on for the last year and a half, to try to get more private sector involvement. Labatt's has been a tremendous sponsor of curling, and they're working with us to try to promote the sport of curling with the Olympics. So in '88, we'll see a lot of these players in Calgary. The whole world will be looking at them then, and hopefully by the time after '88, as we go beyond that, we'll see curling as one of the sports in the Olympic Games. It sure deserves to be one of them.
Thank you, Mr. Minister, and perhaps one of these rinks participating in this year's 1986 Labatt Brier will be involved in that demonstration sport at the 1988 Olympic Games in Calgary. Now let's resume play and our coverage of this battle between Ed Lukowich and Russ Howard.
1-0 the score for Alberta playing Ontario in the fourth end. Neil Houston attempting an in-turn takeout on Ontario rock at the side of the forefoot.
Right off.
And he succeeds. First and third end blanks. Alberta scoring one in the second end. Ontario having last rock in this fourth end. And one rock in play. Belcourt. Tim Belcourt. Second on the Ontario team, attempting the same shot that Neil Houston just played.
Hard. Well, great. Hard. Hooray.
And it really surprised me, Don. You know, there's not that, except for the second end, there's not that many rocks in play. They're playing it kind of very close to the vest. This may start something, because now Howard had Tim Belcourt's rock roll over to the edge of the 12-foot, and if Lukowich rolls out in this one, he may throw up a corner guard.
Regular.
Do you think Lukowich may have said to himself after the mess he got into in that second end, I better not play this game right now?
Well, that has a bearing on it, you know. He tried all kinds of freezes, and the Ontario rock picked all the rocks out and ended up lying 4. You know, that's not a good situation. It's nice that you have last rock, but anytime you're playing a shot against 4, the degree of difficulty increases. That's a good hit.
Belcourt, who manages a sporting goods store, is quite an avid golfer and an excellent fastball pitcher, will be going after that yellow-handled rock belonging to Alberta, sitting on the edge of the 12.
Ball, right on. Put it up. Right on. Whoa.
And he saves his shooter. When you get to the outside of those rings, sometimes it's difficult to save that shooter.
Well, you don't have much room for error, because if you hit it a little bit on the inside, you're definitely going to roll over and hit the boards. So, you know, that's pretty good shooting when you hit and stay right there or roll into the center a bit. See, what Ontario's trying to do is hoping that Lukowich hits and rolls out, and they may throw up a corner guard, and Lukowich may either ignore it or hit it on the nose, and they would try and go around it. Howard is forcing Lukowich to play on the outside of the sheet. Of course, Lukowich wants to play in the center.
Easy. Oh, easy. Wow. Wait. Come on. Wait. Come on.
He gets a bit of a roll to the 8-foot circle.
They're sneaking that one closer to the center all the time.
And Howard, as you saw him tap the ice, wants the roll the other way.
Exactly right.
One 0 Alberta leads, playing the fourth end of this 86 Labatt Brier final.
Well, Hard. Hurry. Hard. Hard. Hurry. Whoa.
Look at that. First one side, then the other. Now Lukowich is trying to roll into the center again. That's great curling. I just thought I'd mention that we had the shortest game in Brier history here this week. Ontario defeated the Territories 11-0 in 4 ends. That's a pretty good beating, wouldn't you say? 11-0.
Didn't take long for them to get the gloves off after they, I think, got 3 on the 4th end in that runaway. John Ferguson, who played third for Lukowich in 1984, previously played with Paul Gausel in a World Junior Championship in '78.
Okay.
Look at this.
He's going to roll back into the center.
Isn't that amazing? Now there's an opportunity here for Howard to maybe freeze to that one and try and score his 2 points, but I don't think he'll gamble. We'll play, you know, they're playing very wide open. Now see, he's going to try and hit and roll to the corner of the 12th. No. They're thinking of freezing.
Well, of course, Russ has complete confidence in his brother Glenn, who throws third stone. We saw evidence of just how skilled he is at playing those freezes in yesterday's semifinal game with Barry McPhee of British Columbia.
Well, that's why Russ is not as scared to or afraid to give his brother the free shots, because he's very good at it. He made a lot of them yesterday.
Lukowich doesn't waste much time positioning the broom for his first shot of this 4th end. 1-0, he leads it. He was looking at 4 Ontario stones, you'll recall, when he threw his final rock of the 2nd end.
An out-turn takeout.
No, easy.
Here Lukowich yelling, easy, easy. You know, he's throwing a little bit more weight than his team is at takeouts. Now, armchair quarterbacks, they may say, well, maybe we should freeze so that and get 2, but I think it's very early in the game. Howard's going to play the takeout.
You know, you talked about Lukowich throwing a little more weight than the other members of the team. If there has been a criticism of Fast Eddie over the years, it is that tendency to throw big weight.
Well, he's used to that weight, though, all the time. But you know, to establish good takeout weight, all the team members should throw the same weight, because then it makes ice reading that much easier. But I think Eddie feels a lot more confident just throwing a little bit more weight. There's a lot of curlers like that.
Clean. Hard. Free. Ball. Right there. Free.
As the rock slides into the rings from our overhead camera position, you see where that stone delivered by Howard comes to rest as Ontario lies 1. Lukowich has combined with Paul Gausel and Rick Folk to write a very successful curling book.
Well, here you have a good contrast in deliveries. Russ Howard on the left of the screen sits up very high. You see the way he is, Don? His arm is very straight. He's up very high. Lukowich gets down a little bit lower as he slides out and gets his balance. 2 excellent deliveries. Look at their foots. Turn sideways so that drops their shoulders a little bit lower and they get in behind the rock. But Howard sits up a little bit higher than Lukowich.
Oh, easy. Yep.
Lukowich is right on target. Changing the position of the stone just a little. Further to the comment about Lukowich's curling book, it has been published in a number of countries. It has gone to Europe and is also being published in Japan, and he is now combining with Rick Lang and Al Hackner in publishing another book on curling.
Well, if anybody knows the game, those 3 do. Hackner-Lang, great combination. First Ed Lukowich, 4 times to the Brier. A lot of curlers, Don, don't get to the Brier once. He's been 4 times. You want to hit and roll out with this one. It looks to me like it could be a nose hit.
Yes, indeed. Ontario takes one on end number 4. So after 4 ends of play in this 1986 Canadian Men's Curling Championship, Ontario and Alberta are tied.
Skating in Canada's outdoors, the greatest natural fitness facility in the world. Participation says, let's see you do it.
This is a Toyota truck. It's built to work hard. It comes in this 1-ton shape, fuel injected with a double wall bed. It comes van shaped with more cargo room than other small vans. And it comes extra cab long bed shaped with more bedroom and an optional automatic column shift for real 3-across seating. Whatever the shape, Toyota trucks work hard. Rugged Toyota trucks, the solid choice.
Who could ask for anything more? Toyota. CBC Sports Weekend.
March 15th on Sports Weekend, the accents on speed, a Gaetan Boucher profile, and the World Junior Speed Skating Championships. Crunch time in the World Cup Derby. In Whistler, British Columbia, the men's World Cup downhill rankings will be settled. Plus, Women's World Cup Racing. Austria's Katrin Guttensen returns to Vail, the site of her breakthrough 1 year ago.
CBC Sports Weekend.
You're watching Sports Weekend, Canada's sports leader. Lots more curling to come and today's giant slalom World Cup race from Sunshine, Alberta. It was quite a day for skiing yesterday on Sports Weekend. Downhill races at Sunshine for the women, Aspen, Colorado for the men. And for Canada's Laurie Graham, it presented a chance to take over the lead in the World Cup standings. Starting 15th in the field, Laurie looked to be in prime position for a run at the title. But just 30 seconds into the race, Graham's hopes came to a crashing halt. Pressing hard for victory, it was a case of all or nothing. At the opposite end of the spectrum, what a race it was for Switzerland's Maria Walliser. Starting immediately after leader Katrin Guttensen, Walliser, who won the World Cup downhill title 2 years ago, sped to her 3rd victory of the season. And the win allows her to move 5 points ahead of Guttensen with 1 race remaining. For 2 other Canadians, Karen Percy and Lisa Savage-Jarvey, it was a great day. They finished 3rd and 4th. For Percy, it was her best World Cup result ever.
I felt really good. I really concentrated on staying low because of the wind, and I just talked everything out. I said to hell with the wind, and I just went for it.
She sure did. Coming up later, we'll see how they do in today's giant slalom. But right now, back to Don Whitman and Don Duguid at the Brier in Kitchener.
Thank you, Ted, and of course we look forward to that skiing coverage coming up later this afternoon on CBC Sports Weekend. And Ted, if you're sitting back there in the Sports Weekend studio and thinking to yourself, these 8 gentlemen are curling very well this afternoon, you're absolutely correct. These percentages through 4 ends. As a team, Alberta 91, Ontario 90. Alberta lead Brent Syme is a perfect 100. Ontario lead Kent Carstairs 91. The seconds, Alberta's Neil Houston at 81. Tim Belcourt of Ontario 88%. The thirds identical, 97% for Glenn Howard and John Ferguson. And the 2 skips are also identical, 84 for Ed Lukowich and Russ Howard.
Those are pretty impressive stats, I'll tell you. 90 and 91% of the team. But Lukowich is going after Howard here. Howard's got one on the top of the 8-foot. And Lukowich is throwing up another corner guard. He threw up a corner guard the first one, and he's going to go after him. He's hoping that Howard, of course, hits that on the nose, and he'll go around it. Hopefully score a couple of points. And you know, I bet they reflect back in the game and they played in the round robin. I know that Howard in the 8th end scored 3 to go 1 up on Lukowich. Threw up a couple of cornerstones and it worked for him.
Not too big.
And scored 3, went 1 up on Lukowich. In the 9th end, Lukowich did exactly the same thing to Howard. He threw up a corner guard, he scored 3 on Howard. So I think they reflect back on certain games that happened previously, how they can take the advantage here. Now the game is on. That's what Lukowich wants. There's a rock out in front so that he can bury behind it. There you see the situation. Rock just off the center line, the one in the house belonging to Ontario, and Lukowich will hit that one and try to flop in behind that corner guard.
Just bump or a little down.
Once again, Bumper, you've seen him hold his hand just about his waist. Bumper weight, just enough to push it through to the back of the bumper, not too strong. Of course, not too light.
You see? Yeah, hurry! Hurry! Gotta go hard, hurry! Only hard. Hurry! Right up hard, all the way, all the way, all the way. Right up, right up, right up.
Oh,
right up.
he just got by the guard. I don't think he's going to save his shooter. It is rolling over. Yes, it's going to hang on the back of the 12-foot.
Starting to go there.
That, however, is not the roll he wanted. He wanted to roll that stone in behind that Ontario rock sitting just off the center line.
Well, I think with that quieter weight, the rock really pulled a lot more than Lukowich thought it would. But this is not a bad shot for Lukowich, because if Howard rolls out, then he'll draw around that center guard. And the nice part for Lukowich is he knows how it runs there now. He knows how much the rock will curl with, maybe with raw weight.
Hard!
He needs a roll out here if he's going to take advantage of that center guard.
Hurry! Come on! Hard! Hurry! Work it. Oh, oh, oh.
Tim Belcourt with the nose hit as Ontario lies 1.
A good shot by Belcourt, Don. It's very important. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see Lukowich go around that center guard and ignore that one. And that's exactly what he's doing.
Front of the tee.
You heard him say in front of the tee, which is very important. He does not want him to slip behind the tee line, because Russ Howard will just stop in front of it. Houston.
Clean. Lot of room. No, no.
The rock is staying fairly straight.
Right up.
He's well by the guard. Now it should start to curl.
No. Oh, no. Clean, clean. Come on, hurry, 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 hurry.
Or something.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Oh, did they ever take a left-hand turn there?
It almost came out the other side.
Well, I think it picked up something because it really took a jump very sharply. There you see it, and I'm not sure who's shot rock here. We'll just have a look at it. You see Russ Howard having a look at both rocks. And he's not quite sure.
Well, from our overhead camera, it would almost appear as though the stone just delivered by Alberta is shot rock.
From here, it looks like Alberta is shot rock.
Alberta throwing the yellow-handled stones, Ontario the red, the 2 stones in the rings, 1 other rock in play, and Russ Howard is still a little uncertain as to which stone is shot rock. Just how important is it for his next shot as to whether or not he has shot or second shot?
Well, it's very important, because if he's lying shot rock, he'll simply go around the long guard and the rock that Alberta has in the 12-foot into the 4-foot area. But by not being shot rock, he has to make a pass at that one that is around the guard. You can see it sticking out on the outturn side, and that's exactly what he's going to play.
What? Okay, what? What was that?
Seems like a lot. Make it tight if anything.
You hear Glenn Howard saying to his brother, Russ, it seems like a lot of ice.
Wow.
Lots of weight.
Wow. Clean. Wow. Wow, right off. Wow. Right off.
It has some curling to do to make contact with that stone. He will.
Is he going to push it out of the rings, though?
He does not push it out of the rings. As a matter of fact, it is still shot.
Ed Lukowich will try exactly the same thing. He'd like to pull that rock in there and duck it into this area here. Get it behind cover. That's the key for Lukowich in front of the tee line.
How does he manage to make the stone move at a right angle, though?
Right-hand sidings with a little bit of bottoms. But he wants to put that rock in front of the tee line. Completely buried. He should know the ice because he's played 2 shots down there now. But if you're a little bit heavy, Don, it'll stay fairly straight.
No,
It'll take a long time to curl.
No. No, line around. Whoa, off, right up.
They want to get it tight to the guard.
Right
That's
up.
the critical part for this
Right
rock.
up.
They have to pull it
No.
in behind the guard. Look at he's
No.
well
Come
behind. A good foot and a half. Now it should start to curl.
Down, right up.
You heard Lukowich say to Ferguson, good shot. Yes, indeed. Alberta lies too.
Well, they would like that rock a little bit more buried.
Have that being buried. God, I'd like to show him the outswing again. Hey. Just a little too much ice.
Let's keep it on this side.
Nose isn't bad. Nose isn't bad. Tight. Make sure of it.
If he hits that rock on the nose, he's not going to be shot rock. But he wants to get a little bit of a roll over to the other Alberta rock on the right-hand side. Boy, he was tight. He's close to that guard. It is starting to pull over as he by. Yes, he's going to have a good-looking shot. He's going to hit it on the nose. Little bit of a roll. And Howard knows he's close to the guard. Look at him yell. Hard, he wants to get it by the guard.
I hope his voice holds out for the balance of this game.
Alberta's still shot though, Don, and I think Lukowich has tightened up the ice a bit for John Ferguson, and maybe to get it in a little tighter to the guard and a little bit deeper so that it buries more. The rock will do all its curling from the hog line in.
No. Clean. No. How's the weight? Clean.
Now they should start to bring it.
Easy. Well, a lot of weight. No. Clean. Whoa, right up. No.
Oh, that's a good shot. Beautiful shot. Fully buried. As a matter of fact, it came out just a fraction on the out-turn side.
Wait for you. What are we looking at? Still about 13 and a half?
Well, there's a good contingent from the 1987 Edmonton Brier Committee in attendance here in the Kitchener Auditorium. The folks in the blue jackets and the blue blazers. Heck Gervais, a 2-time Canadian champion, is the honorary chairman for next year's Brier in Edmonton.
Yeah, just keep it clean all the way in.
You just heard Russ Howard say to Kent Carstairs and Tim Belcourt, keep it clean. He would like to pull this rock right on top of that one that Ferguson just placed in the 4-foot.
Just clean it, a lot of room. Not heavy. Whoa.
Let me yell,
Right
it's
off.
not heavy.
Right off. Whoa.
Come on now.
And it looks to me from this angle that Alberta is still shot.
The only thing is if we miss the outturn, if we rack the guard, then he could hit that and spill us both, eh? We can't leave him the outturn clip either. I think we got to play the outturn. Hope it sinks in there. Tap him about 5 inches, eh? What do you figure? Or you just want to play the in-turn freeze? No, we come here. If we come here, then he can't play the clip. Okay, he can't do that. Okay, all he can play then is the tap, eh? You know, there's a few ways that he can maybe do that wrong, eh? Danny's got to throw a guard, eh? Looking a lot like that, isn't it? Well, I don't want to move him, though. I don't want to make him shot. Yeah.
On this particular shot, it looks to me like Eddie Lukowich is playing really for a second shot rock. He would like to pull his rock right into this area here. And if Howard comes down with his last rock, clips this one out, Lukowich would have a clear path to angle raise and get two. So really, he's playing for his second shot with this particular one he's throwing down.
Turn. Pretty tough, eh? I think we better just freeze on it right now. A little more ice.
And you heard him say it.
You know, if we stop about 4 inches short of him, we would take that.
I'll tell you, if Lukowich comes down and just touches that Ontario rock, just a fraction, Ontario's going to be shot rock.
Well, that's what he said to John Ferguson he did not want to do.
Come on. Come on. Freeze. Gotta go hard. Freeze.
Oh, boy, they're going to have to work on this one.
All hard. Gotta go hard. Come on, Friggy. See. Whoa. See.
He's still a long way out there. That rock is staying a little bit straighter. Now it should start to curl for him. Look at, he's well out. Still on the edge of that guard. He doesn't want to touch it.
Oh, what a shot. What a shot by Lukowich.
Oh, just now, how's that for control of your draw weight? He said he'd like to leave it a couple inches in front of the Ontario rock.
Now it's Russ Howard's turn to contemplate the problem.
Hey? If you could ever skinny that, Jerry. What guard? Skinny and hit it dead on. You can't do it.
I'd like to throw the same shot he just did and move it an inch. And then he can pick me for two, maybe.
Right now.
Well, if you really want to go gambling, you can come down here, hit this one on the nose. This red one will take out the two Alberta rocks, and you'll be lying two. That's a gambling type shot, but let me tell you, if he hits it on the inside, Don, he could be lying two after this. All he has to do is hit that rock right on the nose, and he'll end up lying two.
You can't get that out of there, can you? It won't spill, will it? If he nails the one he just threw, our red won't spill.
Wait, guard this side, what's he got? He got the double? Can he throw a high hard one and make the double?
They're trying to think of all the possibilities. They know how well Eddie can shoot.
Well, if I just nudge it an inch, that's my shot. But can he come down with back ring weight and get me for four?
As long as he can't kill us, let's make him make a play on this one. We might
probably
steal
can.
it.
Depends on what you judge him.
Oh, we could play a freeze to his.
Yeah, I like that. Good one. He might cut his own throat, Ken.
You got a high flying. Double pop?
Yeah, it might be, but Jesus Christ. It's really hard.
He's also got this long raise.
Don't want to touch it an inch, eh? Yeah. Let's guard it.
He's changed his mind again. He wants to guard it. Because Eddie Lukowich can't get that rock out of there, that red one.
Hey? Too bad I didn't get shot. That was my fault.
And he's right, you know. That whole end changed because he didn't get shot. Didn't get shot rock. Makes Lukowich's shot a little bit different.
No, I just get it over the hog.
But now he's quite content to concede one here.
That's right. The whole four-foot area is covered, and it'll be very difficult for Lukowich to get more than one here.
Well, leave it high. Well, right on.
You heard him say leave it high, leave it well out there. Don't bring it in too tight. Wow, that's the perfect curling shot. Now Lukowich has got to figure something out. And I'll tell you what he's looking at, Don. He's looking at a straight back race, try and pick that one, drive the red one that Howard just threw, drive it straight through to the 4-foot, take the other Ontario rock out, and lie three.
Lukowich looking at that long angle raise for perhaps three.
What do you think?
Well, what Lukowich, knowing the gambler that he is, he's probably looking at driving this one onto this one at the back and spilling them both out.
There's also,
and getting
if
3.
we want to play it so that, you know, that guard right there, the long center guard, we can, if we hear it by that rock there, we pick him, Pick him clean. You know, it's not a real bad gamble because we got to make sure we don't hit it on the other side and hit it on this one. Yeah, we got to play it close to that one, But the pick is there.
They're actually looking at that one closer to the center line as
Hit
opposed
this
to
one
the one
dead on,
outside.
shave that other guard. It's there. What? We just got to clear that other guard, And we got a little, with the guard will help us, Gives us an angle, Gives us a line on it, You know, and then there's the bullet on the side there. High, hard one on the side, Well, I like them both. I wish I could make them both.
Wish I could make them both.
I think the side one is you know, this one we don't have to throw as hard. This is just a bumper weight shot, Well, he gets one then. We don't know the ice that good. We really haven't thrown a hard one on the side in for a long time, Yeah, what is it doing?
If it hits the house there, it's going to draw right about to where that rock is.
Yeah.
Maybe 2
A hard rock, it's hard to tell, though. Okay.
I think Eddie Lukowich has opted, you heard him say, a bullet on that one on the side. He's going to try and
It'll be
spring off those
overfield.
one on the left-hand side of the sheet. And
Paramore.
I'll tell you, this one won't be short. He'll be firing this one.
As he said, I'm going to fire a bullet.
Well, it's a good gamble because you heard him say in that conversation that, well, the most they get is 1. Maybe by playing the straight ahead back raise, there is a chance that Ontario could get 2 if he didn't hit it quite right. So he's opted to gamble, spring off that one on the left, come across and drive that Ontario rock out of the center.
Heel plus.
Sandwiched in between the 2 Alberta rocks is the Ontario rock, and that's the one he's trying to spring out by hitting those 2 on the right-hand side there.
The weight he's going to throw, as he told the front end, Peel plus.
Whoa!
Oh,
No! Whoa!
Tell you what, he's very close, I'll bet. I'll bet he's close.
No!
Oh, he just about made it. Unfortunately, he took his own out and left Ontario 1.
But we have talked about Lukowich's willingness to gamble, to take a chance to go for that big end. And the crowd loved it here at the Kitchener Auditorium as he tried for 3. He tried to spring off that rock on the side of the sheet into that second shot zone belonging to Ontario, and he came very close to making it.
Oh, yes, he just has to hit it a bit thicker, Don. You'll see he drives his own shot rock out of there. He hits it a fraction thicker. He moves it across, and he could push that red one just outside the 4-foot and get 3.
He came very close to executing the shot, but as it is, it's a steal of 1 for Ontario, and Ontario leads by that score of 2-1. Well, Ed Lukowich is standing by. Cool hand Luke, the man who is willing to gamble. Ed, the shot was there. You came very close.
Yeah, it was close. We just called the sweep, just a fraction down the ice. And I think we had to hit about another half-inch of that rock.
How could you sweep a bullet?
Well, it does make a difference, I think, about a half-inch down there.
Yeah.
And, you know, just called it a little wrong. If anything, we should have missed it a little thick.
Ed, you contemplated perhaps playing that long angle raise.
It was there as well.
Now, the way the game has progressed through 5 ends, is this somewhat what you anticipated in a game against
it's
Howard?
Close. You know, if we'd have made that shot, well, that was probably the keeper right there. Now we're going to have to gamble a little bit, but we'll just go back and just pretend that they won the toss. They're up 1-0, and we still got to curl well from here on in.
Ed, you've always provided some great entertainment on our CBC curling coverage. I'm sure we'll see much more over the final 5 ends. Good luck.
Thank you.
Ed Lukowich trailing by a score of 2-1 to Ontario's Russ Howard at the midpoint of this 1986 Brier. Well, the crowd here at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium has certainly been entertained in this Brier final, and we hope as you look in across the CBC television network this afternoon that you're enjoying the action on CBC Sports Weekend. And we have more curling entertainment coming your way in weeks to come. 2 weeks from now, we'll be in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia for the Uniroyal World Junior Championship. And then we move on to Kelowna, British Columbia, and the Ladies' World. And finally, the Silver Broom taking place in Toronto.
You know, the success of that Alberta end, the fifth end on, you know, they had a lot of rocks in play. If it wasn't for Howard making a great free shot with his first rock, it looked to me like Alberta was in a good position to get 3 or maybe 4. So I would think that Lukowich would continue that type of attack. If Howard puts us in the ring, I think he'll throw up a corner guard.
Stay with it now. 3.
Howard, of course, wants to put this rock in the forefoot. And a good draw by Kent Carstairs.
I thought that Russ Howard made a very interesting comment, though. He said there's only one man in the world who would attempt a shot like the one Lukowich tried.
Bumper.
And he's exactly right. You know what, Lukowich, and you talk to the many top curlers in Alberta, he not only tries them, that he makes a good percentage of them. You know, and a little bit thicker, he has got 3 and maybe 4. So you're never safe, no matter where the rocks are. And you heard Howard discussing it. You know, should we play the guard? Should I come in? Like, there were so many options open to Lukowich, and you just can't cover them all. And that's what you have to look for. You have to look for the best possible shot to try and hold him back. But you know, on the percentage record, that'll go down as a miss for Lukowich. He'll get no points for that shot because he was already lying 1, and he took his own out.
That reduces his average, but let me tell you, he should get about 10 points for even attempting such a shot.
Yeah. Yeah, he should get bonus points for neatness. He tries them all.
3. Hard. 3. Hurry.
Kent Carstairs attempting to remove that Alberta stone sitting in the house.
Come on.
Anytime there is a rock in play, either at the top of the house or outside the rings, the game is on with Ed Lukowich.
Oh, yeah. See, he's ignoring that rock. He's 1
Halfway.
down. Little different situation now. You know, he's 1 down as opposed to he was gambling when he was tied. So it's a little bit more critical for him this time, because if he gives up another point, then all of a sudden he's down 2.
But he came within a fraction on that last end
of
making one of the shots that would go down in Brier history.
Well, it would equal the Al Hackner shot
Okay, nice way.
of last year against Pat Ryan.
Again, Lukowich is looking for that nose hit as Tim Belcourt attempts to remove that corner guard that was just thrown up.
If Belcourt hits us on the nose or stays anywhere in play,
3. Hard.
Lukowich will go around it. He's still humming anyway, so he's not that concerned yet. Now he's going to put it over on the other side. Remember, we talked about moving the rocks from one side of the sheet to the other? What he's doing is changing shots for the opposing team. That also comes into strategy, moving the rocks around a bit.
Let her move off. Yeah, come on. Okay, easy. Halfway. Nice weight.
Eddie's a great sweeper, eh? Look at that. He'll never break his wrist sweeping, I'll tell you that.
Now Howard is calling for the removal of that Alberta stone. He'd like to get some roll off it as well.
Whoa.
Tim Belcourt,
Right
his
off.
second man.
Whoa. Right off.
Still a long way out there. Has he got a piece of it? Oh, he just touches it. Oh, and just went by the face of his own.
Yep. Too much weight.
You heard Russ Howard yell down to Tim Belcourt, too much weight, and that's why he just touched it.
Well, there has to be that constant reminder, I suppose, and that understanding as to the type of weight that they are going to throw.
Well, the skip puts the broom down for what they feel is their normal takeout weight. And if you throw any more of that, the rock is going to run a lot straighter. So
Easy. No, not in.
you have to adjust your weight to the broom.
Let her move off. Okay, come on.
Now, what's wrong with that sweeping effort by Lukowich?
Power sweeping by Ed Lukowich. He's probably had that broom about 3 years.
But there is something the corn brooms do add to the game, and that is the thumping of the ice. But as we pointed out yesterday, you can't work as close to rocks as you with the brooms as you do with the brushes.
They're both very effective. You heard the nice smacking noise of the broom against the ice. I mean, you get two good sweepers. The rhythm of it and the noise of it really gets the people enthused.
3, 5. Wait. 3. Come on. Roll it. Come on. Right out. Sure.
Trying to get this Glenn Howard delivery out of play, and they succeed in brushing it to the sideboards.
We don't want to move it too much. Just a freeze.
Now, you see, Ed Lukowich has changed his strategy. You can't get a corner guard up because the other team is running him off pretty good. Now he's going to put a corner freeze or a dead-on freeze to that one in the house. And that's the way he's going to try and score his 2 points, hoping that Ontario comes down, drives the Alberta rock onto the other Ontario rock, lose their shooter, and Alberta will be lying one. So he's changed his approach to how he's going to try and score 2 this end.
When the two rinks met in round-robin play, the score was 7-5 in favor of Alberta. Alberta picked up a pair on the first end. Ontario got one back in the third. Alberta went ahead by 2 again with a single point in the fourth. Ontario got 1 in the fifth. Alberta 1 in the sixth, and then a big 3 for Ontario on the 8th end. But Alberta came back with 3 on the 9th for that 7-5 win. Those 3 points they scored in the 9th in that game, I think all 3 stones were in the 4-foot circle.
All in the 4-foot. Look at this. Nice shot by Ferguson. Now for Glenn Howard, if he hits a half a rock or a quarter of a rock, I would think he'd have to hit about a quarter of that rock on the inside and spill them all. Cannot afford to hit this rock on the nose because the Alberta rock will stay and probably for shot.
Enough.
3, 5. 3, 5. Ball.
Look at this.
3, ball.
Is that curling or what? Picked it right out of there.
Glenn Howard has been very impressive. I'm sure our viewers will agree in the 2 games that he has played on our CBC television curling coverage.
You see how exacting he picks that out. He actually touches the rock just a fraction, just across the face of it. But that's excellent curling. Pick that right out clean. You know, I'm sure Lukowich is feeling like Russ Howard did yesterday with British Columbia, picking all the rocks off and clearing the guards off. Same situation.
Yeah, clean. Okay.
It almost appears as though Lukowich has now decided, I'm not going to do it this end. I'll wait till the next end to try and get 2.
Exactly. He's decided he's going to play and blank the end.
Glenn Howard, who throws third stone for Ontario, went to school at the University of Waterloo. He skipped his own rink there and won 3 provincial university championships.
Doesn't break too fast here.
Now throwing third stone for his brother Russ.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Right on. Whoa. Right on. Whoa.
He wanted to save his shooter, and he does, and he also changes the position on the ice. Lukowich will throw the in-turn at that Ontario rock. Ontario leading by a score of 2-1, stealing a single point in the fifth end, as Lukowich tried an extremely difficult shot in an effort to try and get 3. This year, Lukowich and his rink played some 100 to 120 games on the Cashfield circuit. They won $30,000, their biggest payday in Saskatoon at the Besborough Classic, where they won $18,000. They were in the semifinals of a couple of Carsfields, lost in both of them. Lukowich wanted to save his shooter, but it rolls out.
Or make him do that again. Okay.
The intern.
Well, Russ Howard is going to throw the in-turn if he puts that rock in the 4-foot. Of course, if Lukowich is going to hit and roll out, he has further to roll off the shot. I suppose that's the thinking, is it?
That's exactly right.
Easy. Clean, clean. Clean. Hard. Clean. Hard. 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 Clean. Wall. Just clean. Come on. Wall.
And a nice draw weight by Ross Howard.
Well, we have certainly witnessed some great shot making this afternoon in that Brier final, as we did yesterday in the semifinal. An extra and 6-5 decision for Russ Howard over Barry McPhee of Kamloops. Don't forget, still to come this afternoon on CBC Sports Weekend, World Cup skiing, the Giant Slalom from Sunshine Village in Alberta.
Hurry, clean, hurry. Gotta go high, hurry.
Lukowich trying to blank the end.
Right up. Well.
No, sir. Hit it right on the nose.
And that's what he did not want to do on this sixth end. He was hoping for a blank to retain last rock advantage into end number 2. But with that single point, the score is now tied at 2.
Don Messer's back. CBC Enterprises has just released an exclusive home video cassette, one of the most popular CBC television programs of its time, Don Messer's Jubilee. Join a sing-along of your favorite golden oldies with Charlie and Marge. Toe tap and dancing, Don's masterful fiddle. It's a perfect gift, too. Just $39.95 at selected video stores, or use your credit card to order by phone. Call toll-free 1-800-268-1121.
Les Canadiens. More than a hockey team, a tradition inspired by great stars like Howie Morenz and Aurel Joliat.
It was a picnic to play with Morenz.
The incredible play of Maurice Richard, the unique leadership of Jean Beliveau, and the dedication of Guy Lafleur.
Hockey was first.
Les Canadiens, Wednesday, March 19th. Here comes the past, present, and future.
I'm John Major.
I'm Catherine McClenahan.
A show of the 80s, the trends and changes. The Review, Friday, March 21st.
CBC Sports Weekend.
In 2 weeks on Sports Weekend, roar into spring with the Formula One season. The world's greatest drivers chase defending world driving champion Alain Prost in the exciting Grand Prix Racing Series. It begins March 23rd in Brazil. Let Sports Weekend put you in the driver's seat.
CBC Sports Weekend. You can see it right here on CBC Sports. CBC Sports Weekend.
Well, there was racing of a different kind than Formula One yesterday in the United States. The featured battle a two-man struggle for the men's downhill title between Peter Wensberger and Peter Mueller. Swiss veteran Peter Mueller once again masters Aspen, remaining in the fight for first place. This is Mueller's fourth win at Aspen. He always skis well in North America.
Oh, it's so great. I like the course here, I like the people, I like to go also fishing here and to live here. And I have a lot of pleasure to come back to Canada to Whistler Mountain, and I hope that I can ski very well there.
Mueller is still 5 points back of Peter Wensberger, but can still tie him for the downhill crown, which will be decided next Saturday on Sports Weekend. The scene shifts to Whistler, BC, the final downhill of the season. And of course, still to come today from Sunshine, it's the ladies' GS. Can those two brilliant young Canadians emulate their great performances in the downhill yesterday? Right now, though, more curling. Let's rejoin the Dons in Kitchener.
Thank you, Ted, and the score is tied at 2 with 4 ends remaining. And in attendance this afternoon in the Memorial Auditorium in Kitchener in this battle between Ontario and Alberta. Yes. Just 2 months of age. Could this be a future world champion? Certainly has the breeding. Andrew Hackner, 2 months of age, and there's father, babysitter, and curler. Al Hackner, two-time Canadian and world champion. What do you think of this battle?
I think it's just a great game. Not quite as aggressive as the round-robin game. I think perhaps Howard learning what can happen when you tangle with Ed Lukowich in a pile of rocks. I think he's shying away from it, but it's still a very well-curled game, and we should see quite a finish.
Would you have attempted the shot that Lukowich tried on the fifth end?
Oh, I think so, yeah. I think I'd try it twice, though, because you know you always make it the second time.
Well, of course, you provided one of the great dramatic moments in curling with that shot against another Alberta rink, Pat Ryan, last year in the Brier. I'm sure you've taken a look at that shot on videotape a number of times. Tell us your thoughts again about that drama that took place last year.
I think when the rocks finally settled after Pat Ryan threw, we only had one shot. We only had one shot to throw, and I've told people since then that there really wasn't any pressure to that shot because I wasn't supposed to make it. So I just, going down before I went to sit in a hack, I just said to myself, you know, wouldn't it be nice if I made this shot?
And indeed you did, and then went on to win the World Championship. Al, in the final 4 ends, do you think Howard will endeavor, as you said, to keep it clean the rest of the way?
I think so. That was his game plan. I think it was quite evident when he without the hammer in the first end, he called for his rock right into the house. He doesn't want to deal with any rocks out in front when Lukowich has got the hammer, so he calls it in the rings, and that's the way he's going to play it.
Do you think it'll continue throughout, that he's going to try and maintain the advantage of having the last rock right through the 10th end?
I think so. You know, that was a big break for Ontario to steal the point in the 5th end, but it's exactly what he was looking for. Now he's in control, and he can continue to play the game he's playing right now, and if all things being equal, he should have the hammer playing the tight end.
Al Hackner, you're one of 8 rinks to have won the Brier twice. Will the Hackner foursome be back in 1987?
Well, we'll be back. We don't know exactly how we're lining up yet. We still have a couple of team meetings to work things out, but all things look good so far.
Let's put in a plug for a big event that takes place in Thunder Bay, the Heart to Hartsfield. When is that happening, and who's going to be playing?
Well, that's taking place about the 3rd weekend in April, and a usual strong field of celebrity skips coming in. We haven't talked to any of the 2 skips out in the ice here, but I'm sure they'll be getting a message. And over the years, the Spiel has been quite successful with names like Folk and Galzel and Burtnick, and Eddie Lukowich has played there before, and it's quite popular and raising tremendous amount of money for the Heart and Stroke Foundation.
All right, well, Al Hackner, we hope that we do see you at Briers in future years, and there is that miss, and we, in this 7th end, might see some action now.
Well, Lukowich played the whole end for a miss, and that's exactly what happened. Either a miss or a nose hit. The rock is right on the center line, so he's going to go around it, and really the advantage is with Lukowich now. You heard Al Hackner say that I think he'll try and keep it fairly wide open now and hope to maintain advantage. That is being Howard, having last rock coming home, but now it's changed. He may be forced to take one here, or Lukowich may have the opportunity to steal one. And, you know, just a word for the people that aren't going to be able to take in the heart-to-heart fun. They're canvassing
Long way out.
second, third week of April. So if you can't get to watch the curling, please contribute.
Lot of room.
Rick Lang and Al Hector have done a great job for the heart-to-heart fun.
Whoa.
John Ferguson attempting to get in behind that center guard.
Come on.
Boy, they've got to hurry it.
Up close. That's good. Okay. Alrighty.
Well, not exactly where they wanted. Look at here. And Howard's going to
try and beat him in.
It looks like he indicated that he wanted to go in the forfeit, but we'll have to see what Glenn has to say.
Not in. You won't be in.
Yeah, I know. Could hit the top one, too.
Oh, he's going gambling. You heard Glenn yell down, maybe we should hit the top one and spill them both, but Howard said, well, I'm going to go in first. I'm going to put it in front of that tee line this way. I'm going to break this game open. I'm going to try and score 2 points, even though the rocks are on the center line. A little bit dangerous for Howard, but, you know, he obviously feels quite confident. Glenn could get it in perfect position.
Whoa.
Wait, looks good.
Line's good. Lot of room. Whoa. Lot of room. Way out there. Way out there. 3.
Not overly heavy, I'll tell you that.
How much will it bend at the finish? Can he hide it?
Oh, look at this.
Looking shot.
What did you throw, the 6 and didn't get there, or you threw 5.5?
I didn't think it was 6, so I figured I'd throw 6.
That's that same shot. Not quite bending. I thought he played you tight. Maybe here.
And for John Ferguson, he has to be very quiet. He can't throw too much weight, or that rock will run very straight. Howard's just started curling about a foot in front of that long guard. The one you see at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Took him a long time to curl.
When he said it's the same shot, was he making reference to the 5th end when Ontario attempted to remove an Alberta stone in almost that same spot?
Exactly, or he's referring to the extra end. Yesterday's semifinal game. Look at this great shot. John Ferguson, is it going to hang around?
And he gets a roll behind cover on the other side.
Oh, yeah, he's right against the boards. Look at that. A super shot by John Ferguson.
More weight. How's that? You were here.
Well, Howard wants to put the rock in a little bit better. He'd like it a little bit deeper and maybe just over a fraction so that it's kind of buried. But he'd like it just about that position, because the deeper he takes it, the more it'll bury, the tougher for Alberta to get at it. The first one, Alberta could see half a rock. If he takes it another 2 feet, it might curl and completely bury.
Wait, a little tighter. 3.
You heard Howard yelling, a little tighter.
High.
They want to get it past that guard that is on the center line.
I don't think he's by. He's going to wreck, or he's very close. Oh, he just touched it.
He just rubbed that center guard, or he had a perfect stone.
Well, Don, look at how far he slipped back. He's in the back of the 8-foot, and he touched that guard. So that tells me that if he had gotten by the guard, he might have slipped well to the back of the 12-foot. A little bit too much weight, but they had to sweep it to get it by the guard, and unfortunately, it didn't hang up enough for him.
On this 7th end, Alberta has a stone on the edge of the 12-foot shot rock belonging to Ontario with a bite of the 8-foot circle, and that's the one that Lukowich is attempting to remove. Ontario has last stone on his end.
Right up. Not at all.
Right up.
Lukowich unable to save his shooter. He's the low man in percentages. 73%. His rank is curling at 89%. Ontario is a team at 91%. But as you said earlier, that extremely difficult shot Lukowich attempted on the 5th end, where he
keep it high.
Had one stolen, he would get a 0 in the percentages. But for courage and excitement, he gets a big bonus.
He gets 10.
The last.
The nice part about this shot for Russ Howard is that Glenn has played 2 shots down there. And he's just reaffirming in his own mind with his front end of Ken Carstairs and Tim Belcourt if the ice has changed at all. They're saying about a 6, and I think they're relating to their curling club. It's a 6 or a 7. Is it like our curling club or heavy? Well, they're going to have to go on this one, too. It looked to me like he rolled it. They are brushing it, trying to get it by.
So if we get the double roll in, we're okay. I think he turned it just a hair or so. I'm going to take quite a bit less. If we rub it, it's not that bad.
As you take another look at Russ Howard on that last delivery, would you agree he's an intense competitor? Watch this.
Oh, he's really intense, and he yells right away. And, you know, after he let this rock go and he's yelling for him to sweep, he turned after the rock had wrecked on the guard and said to one of his front end people, it picked up something. Look at him scream. He's trying to get it by. But unfortunately, pulls on the guard, and he can't quite believe it. Now for Lukowich. The guard is over a little bit more. He's taking a little bit ice. He's hoping that it ducks right in there at the end. You heard him yell right away. He's got lots.
A lot of weight. Clean.
Wow.
Clean.
Clean.
Easy.
Look around.
Clean.
Look around.
Whoa. No. Right off. Right off. Not at all. No. No. Whoa. Whoa. No.
Coming to rest at the top of the floor, Ontario lies 2. Or Alberta, I'm sorry, lies 2. Ontario with the last rock.
And you'll see how Lukowich tucked it in. It's half open, but Russ Howard is going to ignore it and just to play a cold draw.
Think it was a hair heavy?
Yeah, I'd be right here.
You hear Russ say to Glenn, do you think I was a shade heavy?
Watch the straw in the house, just dust it.
And a big shot for Russ Howard.
He's facing 2 Alberta stones.
Great. Wow. Wow. Clean.
The score tied at 2. This delivery of
Whoa, right off. Clean. Whoa, right off. Whoa.
He's going to stop in time. They haven't laid a brush to it. He looks a little bit strong. I don't think he's going to stop.
He's going to lose 1. Will he lose 2?
No, it's going to stop at the back of the 8-foot.
So it's a steal of 1 for Alberta on the 7th end. And in this battle for Canadian curling supremacy in 1986, with just 3 ends remaining, Alberta leads 3-2. Thank you, Sue, and indeed that will be an exciting afternoon following the Brier, the Husky World Cup Giant Slalom from Sunshine Village, and we've got some excitement still to come from the Memorial Auditorium here in Kitchener. 3 ends remaining in what has been an extremely interesting battle between Alberta and Ontario.
Well, the roles are now reversed. Of course, Ontario's going to try and throw up the corner guards. Alberta's got one in the top of the 12-foot, and the roles are now reversed. And Ontario wants to get a corner guard up. Hopefully, Alberta hit it on those. They can go around it. That rock in the top of the 12-foot, Don, could come into play as this end progresses, because if Alberta runs off all the corner guards, Russ Howard will go around that one and try to take it in the back 8-foot to try and score his 2 points. Then again, you never know what Ed Lukowich may do. Ontario may throw up a corner guard, and he may go around it. Say, okay, now we're line 2. We're going to give you one. Blank the 9th, and we'll have last rock coming home.
Well, in 1983 in Sudbury, in that Lukowich-Werenik final, some great shot making, as there was in the semifinal that year. A situation with British Columbia's Bernie Sparks involved. We saw some tremendous shooting there as well as he battled Ed Werenik.
I think that was probably one of the best Briers for shot making. You know, they were whipping off rocks on the boards and rolling into the 4-foot by Sparks, Lukowich, everybody. It was just an unbelievable Brier. Oh, that's a good break for Lukowich. The further he pushes it into the house, the less room Howard has to go around it. So that's a good shot. But I think Howard will still go around it. He may throw up one more corner guard, putting it on this side now. You see the skips exactly, they think alike. That's why they're here. One side, then the other. Hoping maybe that Alberta would drive it on that one in the house by putting up the corner guard. And I think he'll throw up one more corner guard and then maybe decide to go around it.
Easy. Break. Break. Well, let it break. All right.
All right, what do you do now?
Well, I would still run off one more corner guard. Like Lukowich is maybe looking at putting it on the other side.
Okay. Peel her out. Yeah.
That's what he's doing. He's going to peel one more off. See, he peels this one off. Ontario throws up another corner guard. Lukowich may decide to go to the other side and say, okay, now we'll exchange shots. We'll give you one. And I'll try to blank the 9th end and have last rock playing the 10th.
Not only do you have to be planning several shots ahead on the end you're playing, but you also have to be thinking a couple of ends in advance.
Oh, sure, you know. And strategy never really starts until there's a missed shot. And a lot of times made shots as well. So here's a good shot by Ferguson. Hit and roll away to the boards. Now I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see Howard. He's tried up all the corner guards. It's not working for him. I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see him go around that one, though, even if in the 8-foot.
Well, it's getting down to nail-biting time here at this 1986 Brier in Kitchener. Russ Howard has tremendous confidence in the ability of his brother Glenn, who throws third stone, to make that draw shot. And I guess he feels that he can sneak in behind that Alberta stone sitting in the 8-foot.
Well, he wants protection, and what he's trying to do is get around that guard.
Easy.
Even partially.
Wow.
Make the shot a little bit more difficult for Alberta.
Clean. Clean. Lots of weight still. Wow.
Communication between the front end, who are sweeping the rock, and the skip. He's got a lot of weight still. Skip is watching the line.
Three. High. 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 Come on.
Different approach. I thought he was coming around that rock. I might have gone around it, but he's elected to play the freeze. You know, this way, by freezing there, it's not, there's a little bit of separation there. You just run them off. But if you go around the guard, you make Alberta play a really fine shot to try and pick it out of there. If you get it in perfect, then Alberta may have to run the two of them. See, this is a fairly wide open hit for Ferguson. Of course, what Ontario is looking for is that Ferguson turns a little bit inside, hits it on the nose, and that way they're going to get their two.
Clean. Hurry. Gotta go higher. Oh, easy.
He'll corner it.
Oh,
good shot.
And once again, move the rock closer to the tee line, deeper in the house.
That was a shot very similar to the one we saw Glenn Howard make back in about the 5th end.
Exactly the same. He picked it out, touched the rock, just moved it ever so slightly.
It's interesting how the roles have just reversed from end to end. The two rinks very similar in their style.
Well, they know each other. They've played each other in the round robin. They know how I'm sure Lukowich knows how Russ Howard thinks, and I'm sure Russ Howard knows how Lukowich likes to play.
Yeah, it's over half rock.
See, the rock has moved over a half, and Glenn's yelling down, well, Russ, it's over a little bit more. You better give me a little less ice.
Well, see? Well, lots of room. Wow. Well, right up. You go around it? Well, leave it high. Well, 3, 5, 3.
Now they decided to take it around it, Don. It's way out there. It's not going to freeze to it. He decides to go around it. So, you know, that's an alert skip or alert team because it looked like he wasn't going to freeze to it, so let's pull it around.
He's going to quite a bit more, Russ. It really is. I don't think so over a good rock, I think.
Not a bad spot is right. That rock is a little bit tucked in around that one belonging to Alberta. So Ed Lukowich has got to pick this one out. Out-turn, take-out. Weight is the key here. Cannot overthrow it. He's got it.
Alberta continues to lie one. That's the only stone in play.
Now Russ Howard's changed his strategy. He's going to blank this end. He's going to hit that rock right on the nose and hope that Lukowich hits it and stays or rolls out, and then he'll just throw it through the house. He's going to blank this end.
Yes, indeed.
A little left.
Luke is here again, the 4th time that Ed Lukowich has represented Alberta at the Brier. However, only once has he been a winner. That was in 1978. Back in Vancouver, when the Brier was decided on a round-robin format before the playoff system was introduced to the Canadian men's curling. Trying to save the shooter. Will he remove that Alberta stone?
Oh.
Yes, just enough.
It looked to me like Russ Howard turned that one in a bit, and they just sweeping kept that rock from going by. He was very close to missing it. And Lukowich says, well, if he turned that one in, maybe he'll turn the other one in.
He's usually pretty good over there, too, eh? Why, you want to go there again?
Yeah, that's what you think was. That's where he
Okay.
You heard Lukowich say to John Ferguson, he's pretty good over there. And Ferguson says, yeah, but he was close to missing once over here, so we'll put it over this side. See, they're always thinking, where can I put it? So, where it's difficult for him to hit, you know, that's the key. You know, they're always thinking. You know, there's no rocks in play. You think it's very insignificant, just throw it in the house, the guy will hit and maybe blank, but you got to think, say, well, look, maybe he turns his in turn a bit, or he rolls his out turn.
Well, the skip of any rink gets most of the recognition, but from the conversations we have heard this afternoon involving third John Ferguson and skip Eddie Lukowich and the Howard brothers, it is a team game. All members of the rink get involved, and all members can make a contribution, not only with their shot making, but with their thoughts as to how the strategy should evolve.
Well, mostly you're talking to your third all the time. Like, you might not remember what a rock did in a certain area of the ice, so you're always talking to your third, say, what did it do there? And your third is supposed to remind you, well, remember that shot you threw in the 5th end, it fell out there. Front end, when a skip goes down, is primarily concerned with weight. The skip will turn to them and say, is it changed any? And the front end will say, no, it's the same. And so you throw the same weight, and you pull up short, and you say to them, well, I thought you said it didn't change any. You know, if you're going to say something the front end to a skip, you better make sure that you're right.
Let's try it here.
There's that twirling motion that he goes through with the rock all the time. Like to roll away.
Easy. Wow. Wow. Easy.
He's got a good-looking shot. He removes the Alberta stone. The shooter also rolls out, and Russ Howard will retain last rock advantage. Alberta continues to lead by 1.
Been waiting long?
Just a couple of minutes. What did you think of that investment proposal?
I think we should go with these people. I like their attitude, and we're bound to do better than leaving our money in savings.
And the broker?
He seems really competent, easy to talk to, and what I liked most, he took the time to explain things. I'd say he's first rate.
I'm not surprised.
What do you mean?
You never would settle for second best.
Richardson Greenshields, investment advisors to Canadian Enterprise and enterprising Canadians.
Somebody have any change?
Pepsi, the choice of a new generation.
CBC Sports Weekend.
Appearing in April on Sports Weekend, the world's most prestigious curling tournament, Toronto hosts the Silver Broom. Spring comes early to Augusta, the gifted of golf, in competition at the first major of 1986, the 50th Masters. And snooker stick handlers with a delicate touch. Can Dennis Taylor rack up a second World Snooker Championship?
CBC Sports Weekend.
Well, some great action coming up in the weeks to come. Still 2 ends of great action, maybe even more still to come here at the Labatt Brier in Kitchener. Another major curling event to take place in the province of Ontario about 3 weeks away is the 1986 World Curling Championship. And the chairman of that event is with us now, Bill Turf. How are things going in organizing the 1986 Silver Broom?
Things are going very well, Don. All major planning has pretty well taken place, and what we're doing now really is just tying up some loose ends.
What kind of crowds are you anticipating?
Our ticket sales have been going quite well. There was a lull in January, February. We're approaching 5,000. We anticipate, however, when this is over, we'll get to the 6,000 level that we hope to accomplish.
Well, either of these rinks would certainly be worthy representatives, I think you'd agree.
No question about it, Don. No question about it.
Well, we wish you lots of success and hope that all the problems, if there are any, will be solved between now and opening day at the Silver Broom in Toronto, and we look forward to seeing you there.
Thank you very much.
3-2. Alberta continuing to lead Ontario. End number 9. 1 stone in the rings. That belongs to Alberta. And Russ Howard is calling for a freeze to this stone.
Well, there's 2 ways he's trying to score. He could go around that corner guard, but he feels it's too early in the end. He's going to freeze to this rock, hoping that Lukowich makes a pass at it and spills them all, and then he'll go around that corner guard. But remember yesterday's semifinal, that rock that was against the boards? That's their side of the sheet. They like playing in that area.
Wall. Just wait. Clean. Hard. Wall the room. Wall. Wall the room. Clean. Clean. Hard. Hard. Wall. Sir. Clean. 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 Clean.
Look at this. Pretty nice free shot. If you're Lukowich, do you do a little bit of gambling, maybe put it on the open side, or you try to run them?
Peel it.
He's going to peel it. You see now, that perfect shot.
It's about 3 inches.
That perfect shot put in there now. If Houston spills them all, then you'll see Howard go around that corner guard. And that's why he played the freeze as opposed to going around the corner guard. He's going to make Lukowich waste a rock, try to peel them all off. If he gets a bit of a break and drives it straight back, then he'll go around the corner guard and he'll be lining 2.
Easy. Hurry! Hurry! Come on, hurry! Hurry!
Neil Houston does not spill the red-handled stone belonging to Ontario. It stays just outside the rings. 2 rocks outside the rings. And as you said, Don Duguid, he is going to go around that rock over on the right-hand side. the left-hand side as you look at it from the other end.
Make sure you get it by.
Tim's well.
Belcourt just a little concerned about the ice. Took a little bit longer to throw that time, and I think he was questioning the ice.
Lot of room.
Not heavy.
Russ Howard was giving him.
High! High! Hurry!
Come on.
They're really yelling, great for line.
He's got a good-looking stone.
Come on, come on, come on.
That is right behind the guard in front of the tee line, full in the 12 foot. Good judging by the sweepers for weight. Russ Howard doing an excellent job of calling him for line. Look at, he's over by the boards making sure it's by. It squeezes by. They don't touch it until it comes into the 12 foot. Now they sweep it a little bit to try and bury it a little bit deeper.
Tim Belcourt right behind that stone all the way as it came down the ice, yelling that it was fine for line. He was watching the line as Russ Howard was calling the sweeping.
No, right up, right up. No, right up.
Houston trying to pick this rock out. He's still well out there. Is he going to hit
He's got
it?
it.
No, he just tipped it over.
A little wide.
Well, if you really want to take control of a game, you might want to pull the rock into this area here. The unfortunate part is you go and sit beside the rock, there's a chance you could create a pocket. I think Russ Howard is just going to consolidate his two and go to the open side. But I mean, if you really wanted to gamble, you could pull in around that guard, stop in top of the 12-foot, lie two, perfectly buried.
Should be here. Easy. Wow. Clean. Wow. 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 Clean. 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 Oh, nice shot, Tim.
Ontario now lies two.
A regular.
Ontario lying two down, well spread, one fully protected by a corner guard. You'll see it, it's actually open from the intern side as you look down on the left-hand side of the sheet there, but it's pretty well protected. Ontario has their two set up here. And you know, if Alberta hits and rolls out here, they may even gamble later on the end. Maybe with Russ Howard's first rock, if that's the case, with that side is empty at all, they may go in around that corner guard.
Hurry. Hurry. All the way. Keep on it.
Alberta now lies one. And Howard.
Did it. I thought you're normal.
For a moment, I thought he had indicated he was going to play a freeze.
Well, that's not a bad call, you know. If you play the freeze to it, the perfect freeze, there's a chance you could get through three. Lukowich would have to try and run them all off. But then there's always a danger if he does freeze to it, Lukowich may freeze to it again, then you're only looking at one. So I think this is a good call. What Russ Howard is hoping here that he hits it, his brother hits it on the nose and stays there, and Lukowich's team maybe hits and rolls out so they might go around that corner guard. And it's going to be interesting to see how this end develops if Russ Howard in his first rock may attempt to go around that corner guard where the second shot is.
Hurry hard. Hurry. Hard. Hurry.
Nice little roll to the left-hand side of the sheet as we're looking at it from behind. There you see it on the right. You know, if you really wanted to gamble, if they could have swept it all the way down the ice and tried to roll it behind the other corner guard. That's about 6 inches from the boards. You know why Lukowich is walking over there looking at that other rock? He wants to know exactly how far he can roll and still remain shot on the right-hand side. And that's why he walked over and took a look at it.
Clean.
John Ferguson's second stone of this ninth end. Ontario lies 2.
No, right up.
He's going to get a roll, but the other way. And out of the rings.
Stay on it, Woody.
Now we'll see if Howard, he's over there, he's looking at it. He's got his 2 for sure. Now, is he going to go gambling to try and score 3? You know, if he puts that rock top of the 12-foot, just behind that guard on the left-hand side there, it's pretty difficult to get him out. Lukowich, but then again, if you drop it on the top of the 12-foot, Lukowich may go around it, and your whole end is just about washed up.
Well, this is a point in the match where you must have great confidence in your own abilities to make the shot and the abilities of the other members of the rink to execute the shot as well.
Exactly. This is nail-biting time. You know, it looks fairly simple to draw down there. You've got control of this game if you get the rock in the house, and you want to make sure it's in the house.
Clean. Hard. Hard. Yep. Hard.
Boy, I'm impressed with Glenn Howard's draw away. Look at that. He slips to the back of the 12-foot. Now, if you're Lukowich, do you gamble and try to freeze that one, or you say, okay, I'm going to give you your 2. I'm going to be 1 down coming home.
Good bump.
And no, he's going to hit it. There's no question in his mind. He's going to hit that. Hope that Howard hits and rolls out, maybe try to sneak one around that corner guard.
Well, it looks very much as though Ontario has this end set up for the 2 that the 2 sides have been looking for from the outset, but nobody has been able to achieve. Is there any way that Lukowich can escape from the end?
Well, if he hits and stays there, and Russ Howard hits and rolls out, Lukowich may be to pull it in around that corner guard, and around the one that's biting the 12-foot, and he may get out of the end that way.
Come on, hurry. Hurry. Go hard. Clean. Clean. Up.
Alberta now lies 1.
That really goes, doesn't it?
What was that reference to? It really goes.
Pardon me?
It really goes.
Well, I think he's playing right down the center line. If you play outside that center line, it'll run very straight. But once you hit that center line to the inside, it will really curl on you. So that's what he has to be concerned about. Now, the brush is right on the center line. And for our viewers, they can tell if he's inside or wide when Howard throws this rock. Just see, there's the center line. He's pretty well right up the stick. As he let it go, maybe a little bit on the high side.
Stay with it. Clean. Stay with it. Come on. Come on. Clean.
Good shot. Ontario lies 2.
This is really interesting, you know. Russ Howard played the in-turn right down center, had nice carrying weight, hit the rock right on the nose. Look at Lukowich. He's playing the out-turn. Maybe he feels it stays a little bit straighter because he's not taking as much ice as Russ Howard did on the in-turn. He's going to play the out-turn, maybe try to roll the rock in a little different position, make it tougher for Russ Howard to hit and stick. Very important that Lukowich hits and stays here to force Howard to make a good shot to get his 2.
Come on. Clean. Yep, come on. Clean. Easy. Up. Come on. Hurry.
And he does. He stays in the 8-foot to lie 1.
Well, he moved it over about 6 inches. See, now look at the brush is 6 inches inside the center line. Is it going to curl more there, or is it going to stay a little bit straighter?
I don't think I'll have to, Glenn.
one would expect in Kitchener, Ontario. The majority of the spectators here in the Memorial Auditorium are pulling for the home province, skipped by R.Howard. They'd love to see him get a pair here.
Well, Lukowich is not in a bad spot if Ontario scores 2. He's 1 down coming home with last rock. But if Howard ever hits and rolls out, then the advantage is definitely to Lukowich. Rock is starting to move over. He looks pretty good. He's got a lot of weight. Is he going to hang around? Oh, they're sweeping. Look at that rock in the back. It may save him. No, it rolls out. Oh, an unfortunate break for Russ Howard.
Howard had a chance to get the 2. That elusive deuce. But he gets just 1. And now playing the 10th end. The score is tied at 3. We'll be back right after this.
Trapped in a time warp, waiting for the next World War to arrive.
Canada would make sure that no enemy could attack the United States through Canada.
Gwyn Dyer looks at how we became strategic territory.
Our armed forces aren't really meant for peacekeeping. They're designed for fighting the Russians.
The Defense of Canada, Sunday.
On Venture this week, meet the people who make business sizzle. Venture with Patrick Watson, Sunday night, following Sunday Report.
Louis takes a mysterious phone call.
Little people get trampled on.
A politician takes a dive, while Lou's career takes off.
Page 1, Ciccone. Don't start with that feminist resentment stuff.
And fame takes its toll. Is Louis having a midlife crisis?
My lips are sealed.
Seeing things tonight. Gwyn Dyer looks at how we became strategic territory.
We're trapped in a time warp, waiting for the next World War to arrive.
The Defense of Canada, tonight.
CBC Sports Weekend.
In 2 weeks' time on Sports Weekend, Canada's defense of the World Curling titles begins in Dartmouth, the World Junior Men's Championship.
CBC Sports Weekend.
Well, there haven't been as many rocks in play as we anticipated in this Howard Lukowich showdown for the 1986 Canadian Men's Curling Championship. But the percentages are extremely high. Alberta through 9 ends, 88%. Ontario, 87%. The score is tied at 3. And now Ontario will have to steal a point if they're going to represent Canada in the Silver Broom in Toronto. Ed Lukowich will try and keep it absolutely clean until the final stone.
He will run everything. Russ Howard will throw 7 guards up down on the center line, hoping for a nose hit or a partial hit, somewhere for him to hide behind, force Ed Lukowich to make a final shot with his last rock. But they will run everything, Alberta. There you see the first one, and that's the way it'll continue throughout this whole end. And you know, Don, you play the whole game and try and score 2 points and get a little bit of an advantage. Howard had a wide open hit for 2. The rock moved over, and that was the importance of Lukowich's rock rolling over slightly, changed the ice a bit for him. And it looked like he had good weight, and the rock didn't curl enough for him. He hit on the high side and rolled out, you know, and you cannot afford to miss those opportunities.
Well, both rinks have certainly demonstrated their shot-making skills.
A lot of room. 3.
They've been able to play the hitting game, the draw game with equal ability. Kent Carstairs, the Ontario lead, throwing up that guard. And Ed Lukowich will call on his lead, Brent Syme, to remove it.
Now it's nail biting time. Just have to relax, play it
Same
like
weight.
any other end. And Lukowich has been in this spot many, many times on the cash circuit, in Briers, where it'll come down to the final stone.
No.
Syme, who was born here in Kitchener, certainly like to add a Canadian championship right here in this place of his birth.
Good job by the front end, Sam.
And he has done his job.
And he probably is breathing a sigh of relief, and exactly that. I did my job. I peeled the two off. Now he looks to Neil Houston and say, okay, Neil, come on, keep it going. For Russ Howard, looking for any kind of a break at all. A nose hit or an open miss. As I said earlier, he'll throw up 7 guards.
Deep.
Hoping for one nose hit or a partial hit.
3. 3. Well.
And Belcourt, you know, as much as the Alberta team is peeling them off, front end of Ontario doing a good job, putting it halfway between the house and the hog line, very close to that center line.
And now Neil Houston.
Still late.
Will attempt the removal of this stone. He was with Paul Gausel in 1975 when he won the Canadian Junior Men's Championship and the subsequent World Junior Curling Championship. He was also playing with Paul Gausel at the Brier in Calgary in 1980. He was throwing third stones then.
Three down, 5 to go.
So for Neil Houston, this is his 4th Brier appearance, 3 times with Lukowich, once with Paul Gausel. A lot of experience on this Lukowich rink.
They're a very fine rink, as is the Russ Howard team. You know, whoever wins this game, we have good representation at the World Championship.
Not heavy. Don't lose it. Clean. Clean. Come on. Hurry. Hurry. Tight. Get it tight. Yep. Come on now. Shot down.
Well, there is the 4th consecutive guard
Same way.
that Ontario has been able to throw out there. And let's see now if Alberta can remove it, can peel it for the 4th consecutive time.
I think if Alberta peels this one off, Russ Howard may put it in a different spot.
Whoa.
This looks like a miss to me. He's very close. Now it's starting to pull over. Oh, he just catching the corner. Now it'll be interesting to see where Russ Howard puts this one. He may find that putting him on the center line, Alberta's running him off fairly good. He may change position a bit on it.
I'm sure that may be a smile of relief on the face of Neil Houston, that he caught a corner of that rock to peel it off of there. And both he and the lead, Brent Symes, say, well, we've done our job on this 10th end.
Now it's up to Ferguson and Glenn Howard. Glenn Howard to put it on, and he's hoping that Ferguson makes a slight error and hits it on the nose.
3-3 the score, the 10th end of this 1986 Canadian Men's Curling Championship for the Labatt Brier Tankard.
Look at that percentage after 9 ends, 90%.
Break. Hard. Hurry.
Boy, Russ Howard is coming out to help him, and he's a long way out.
Hurry.
Just about the same spot as all the other rocks. A little off the center line. Lukowich will stay with the turn that he knows best, and that's the out turn.
Well, this end so far has gone exactly the way you said it would. Ontario throwing that stone out there. Alberta peeling it off. The task assigned this time to Alberta third John Ferguson.
Hurry. Clean. Off. Off. Clean. Clean. On.
And he'll peel that red stone out of there and roll the shooter out as well.
That's 5. You see Russ Howard standing there. See, now he's going to go over to the other side. He's going to go with the in turn, maybe put it on the other side of the tee line.
5 feet, 4 feet. Here.
On the other side of the center line. He's going to go to the out turn that he knows. Maybe a little less ice now, so it'll curl across that center line and over to the other side.
I find it interesting in watching this Ontario rink yesterday and today that Glenn Howard and Russ Howard, when they discuss a shot, if Glenn wants a change, Russ usually complies.
Yes, he does. Well, you know, I guess it's Russ feels that Glenn feels more comfortable with that particular shot, so give it to him. That's a little tighter than he wanted, but not bad. Russ Howard with his first rock will put it tight to the rings. Once again, just about on that center line.
So now the task of trying to peel again falls to John Ferguson. That red stone is the object of his attention.
Hurry! Gotta go high, hurry!
Well, he yelled right away.
Hurry!
He doesn't want a nose hit.
Oh, he's got a good shot. He's going to peel it off. For a minute there, they're a little bit nervous about that one.
Just 4 rocks remain to be played. Nothing in play. The score is tied at 3. Nowhere for Russ Howard to hide.
No, there's not. He wants to put this one out in front again. He's looking for one break, one little break. Either a 3/4 hit on the nose or a hit on the nose, and he'll go around it.
6 still.
It's been a perfect curling end so far.
Well, when you get down to this close to the Canadian Championship, you know, you can lose it by making or missing half a shot.
Yep. Easy. Wow. Clean. Free for line. One tighter. Clean. Clean. Wow. Wow. Free. High. Free hard. Hurry.
They want to bring it tight.
Come on, come on, come on. Work it. Just across, Ken. Yep.
And maybe 3 or 4 inches over a little bit more off the center line.
And now Lukowich wants that rock out of there, and he wants a shooter out of play as well.
Well, you know, if you're a third man like John Ferguson, you're saying to yourself, please, Skip, hit the broom. Throw the right way. Peel this one off, and then the pressure mounts for the last shot. Look at the expression on Ferguson's face. He'll know as soon as Eddie starts sliding out whether he's on the broom or not, so he'll make a decision right away.
Easy.
He's got a good-looking shot.
There you go. 7 up, 7 down. Peeled them all. Howard's looking for a spot to put this where Lukowich cannot hit it. You know, and I'm surprised he's going to that side because Lukowich will throw an out-turn at it. And, Don, there's been 7 out-turns played on this end. I think I maybe go to the other side and make Lukowich play an in-turn or an out-turn inside the center line.
Well, a fine round of applause, and deservedly so, for Russ Howard as he makes his way down to the hack.
I can think about it for a while.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I think he might get.
He said, let him think about it for a while. He's going to take his time. See, look at, he's going to move over the ice.
A bit of gamesmanship.
A bit of a gamesmanship. He knows that the longer he hesitates, the longer Lukowich has to stand back there waiting to throw his last rock.
Yep, hard.
And that's about the only bit of strategy he can employ right now.
Wow. Wow.
But he doesn't want to slide through with this one.
Oh, he looks pretty
Or
good.
be light.
He's a little bit strong, but he's going to be on the edge of the forefoot. Very nice weight. T-line weight right on the forefoot. And look at Lukowich. Out outturn. That's why maybe would have, you know, you don't have much of a chance to win this game when you don't have last rock and there's no rocks in play. But I might have changed position on. That's the outturn side. They've thrown, Alberta's thrown 7 outturns, maybe a little close to the center line, but it runs very straight out there. What he's got to hope for here is that Lukowich maybe drives out a little bit too hard, throws a little bit too much weight. Fraction wide, it'll float on him. But Lukowich has just got to calm down. He's been in this position lots of times.
Easy ball.
Front end poised, ready to sweep. Ferguson, eyes glued on the broom. Lukowich just settling himself down. Knows he can win this Canadian championship with a simple outturn takeout.
Has Ed Lukowich got his second Canadian men's curling championship with this stone? It has to bend some more.
He's right on it. He's got it. Is he going to hang around? He's got a little bit of a roll.
It hangs in there. And Ed Lukowich and his Alberta rink have won it. The second Canadian championship for Ed Lukowich. He was a winner in 1978. In 1983, he was the runner-up. And in 1984, he lost in the semifinal.
Woody, great game.
You hear him saying to the guys, great game, and it was. Cool.
Cool Hand Luke is the nickname, and Ed Lukowich has piloted this foursome of John Ferguson, Neil Houston, and Brent Syme to the 1986 Canadian title, and will represent the nation in the World Curling Championship taking place in Toronto the first week in April. A well-curled game. 89% for Alberta, 88% for Ontario, and a 4-3 win for Ed Lukowich. Ed Lukowich, congratulations on becoming only the 9th double winner of the Brier.
Thank you. It was a great game, and there was some pretty good ends. It was a little cleaner than I thought it might be. There was a few more hits. We really got a big break in the 9th inning when Russ Howard rolled out. I didn't think it would ever happen. I think he kind of got a bad break on that rock. They were curling quite a bit in that corner area, and that one of his just seemed to run straight on him.
Eddie, you favored the outturn on the 10th end. The boys peeled 6 in a row for you. You made 2 great shots, 1 peel and 1 hit on the nose.
Well, that outturn peel has been our bread and butter for a couple months now. Like, I think percentage-wise, we tend to favor it a little bit more, but, you know, we like to throw both turns. It was a great game, and I certainly want to thank my wife, Judy, who's really supported us, and the other girls, and our coach, Wayne Hart, and our spare who's been here. He did great, and hi to everybody out there. It's quite a thrill for us to win. I was kind of a little down on that game after I missed that real difficult shot, that high hard one for 3. I thought that might have made the difference, you know. If they would have won, I would certainly look back on that rock for a long time and say, you know, that was it.
You certainly had no reason to feel down because you came so close to making it, and of course that would have been the game right there.
Yeah, well, it certainly would have given us a big lead at that time, and you know, it would have been tough for them to catch up to us. I just thought I had to gamble there. You know, we had to try and get a deuce somewhere along the line, and I think that proved true. Like, I think if they would have got 2 on the 9th in there, you know, if he hits and stays for 2, well, it might have been difficult for us to get a deuce back on them.
Ed Lukowich, congratulations to yourself, John Ferguson, Neil Houston, and Brent Syme, the 1986 Canadian men's curling champions and winner of the Labatt Brier Tankard.
Thank you.